Hello again, Canes fans. Emotions are pretty raw right now in the Canes nation because right now it looks like the Miami Hurricanes are on the outside looking in at the college football playoff. The latest wound for the Canes to reconcile in a season, quite honestly, where they only have themselves to blame. Whether it was the 271 yards rushing given up to Georgia Tech, or the points that were left on the field in Atlanta that day in the form of field goals and an extra point that were not attempted? Or how about the 35-7 run that they allowed Syracuse to put together on Saturday in the middle of that horrible, horrible game, horrible loss in the old Carrier Dome up there in Syracuse? Or how about Jacoby George's ridiculous personal foul penalty with Miami driving late in the game for the tying touchdown? Took Miami from second and goal at the 8 to second and 23. Back at 23-yard line. The odds of making that up are not real high. They got the third down at the 10-yard line. Mario Cristobal went with the analytics. We've been arguing about that one for a couple days. I think he made the right decision. Gave his defense a chance to make a stop. They didn't come close to making a stop. Miami never got the ball back. And here we are now. How about some of the play calls down the stretch on both sides of the ball? Defense unable to dial anything up. I thought the offense didn't quite, have its act together on those last two plays on that drive on second and third down. Just, I think it caught him by surprise, that 15-yard penalty, and Shannon Dawson wasn't totally ready for it. And they really didn't put their best effort out on the field in that point. So the bottom line is that the Canes did not get it done with the season on the line, okay? And there's no room for crying, no room for complaining. Kane, that includes you. I don't expect to hear you crying tonight. Miami earned its fate, unfortunately. None of us are happy about it. Mario Cristobal's certainly not happy about it. But when you lose in a season where you have the best offense in the country and a quarterback like Cam Ward, and you find a way to lose the Georgia Tech and Syracuse games, we found out tonight that you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt from the college football playoff committee. So tonight, as we embark on a new edition of CaneSport Live, we're going to discuss how this all happened, why Miami was not able to come through in the clutch down the stretch of the season on Saturday or in Atlanta. Maybe, just maybe, the Canes went to the well a little too many times. I mean, we know what happened in the Virginia Tech and Cal games, how they escaped both of those with subpar performances. Maybe they also became a bit too mesmerized by Cam Ward's Heisman Trophy campaign or the wild stats that they were putting up on offense along the way of becoming the top statistical offense in the nation. Maybe they didn't always incorporate the best strategy towards winning when they got that 21-0 lead up there at Syracuse and they go into the second quarter. Maybe they should have just run the ball a little bit more. I know those first 150 yards in the first quarter came pretty easy, but they had 4 empty possessions in the second quarter where they didn't get a point. That allowed Syracuse to come back and get into the game, obviously, and totally negate all the great things that Miami did in the first quarter. So maybe also, as we suspected, the defense was never really any good this season. I mean, they had a few moments here and there, but nothing, if we look at it honestly, certainly nothing to write home about. Really, the entire season, a lot of guys had underperforming years. Tyler Barron, for one. I thought Ruben Bain had a very pedestrian season this year, not even close to the type of season he had as a freshman. Kiko Minoa, very average year at linebacker. Wesley Besainth, had a few moments over the course of the 12 games, but nothing consistent. The secondary was horrible all year. So maybe, just maybe, what happened tonight was well earned by Miami, which now is looking at probably getting a bowl game in Orlando, or on the outside of the bowl game at the Gator Bowl in Jacksonville on the 2nd of January. I'm thinking probably December 28th in Orlando. Don't expect to see Cam Ward in a Miami uniform again. I wouldn't think. It'll be a day to play all the young kids and sort of get a little bit of a head start on next year and see what they have. In the meantime, we got recruiting going on. That's not going great either, quite honestly. They lost a couple kids today. I mean, nothing that you're going to have a heart attack over, but they'll probably finish somewhere like around 15th in the country in recruiting. And that's going to put pressure on them really hitting some home runs in the transfer portal, because as we'll be analyzing as we go forward here in the coming weeks, this roster's taken a lot of hits. And right now it is a very average roster going into next season. They're going to need some fortifications out of the transfer portal for sure. So, so much for us to talk about tonight. We got a Mario Cristobal decision that he's going to have to make on Lance Guidry. The top 5 posts tonight on our message boards at CaneSport.com were saying that Lance Guidry needs to be fired. Now, we have no idea how Mario Cristobal is processing this whole season, but obviously that is a decision that's going to have to be made here in the coming days and weeks as well. It's certainly probably on the table because of how poorly Miami's defense played down the stretch. That ultimately cost them a berth in the college football playoff and a chance to compete for the national title. So, so much to talk about, that and all more as we begin this new edition of CaneSport Live. And hello again, everybody. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, and we welcome you once again to your show, The People Show, CaneSport Live. As always, it's going to be your show. It's going to be driven by your participation. If you want to come on the show, let me put it up on the screen right now. All you got to do, shoot us an email, canesport@yahoo.com. If you're not pre-registered with us, we will send you the link to the studio. You'll come on the show in the order that you land in the studio. And you're also encouraged to participate. I see some guys have already gotten a pretty good head start here in the comments windows on YouTube. You guys can enter comments in the chat, and we will get to those tonight as well. But let me bring in now my sidekick, I'll call him Matt Shodell, who's been really kind of emotional the last few days. I mean, he'll just call me on the phone and start ranting and raving about different things, and really has not been the same Matt, to be quite honest with you. I mean, you guys are used to his negativity and his rants and all that, but he's been a different Matt the last couple days. And it's like something will like just hit his brain, and he'll like need to freak out for 5-10 minutes, and my phone will ring, and he's just like screaming into the phone for 5 or 10 minutes. And I mean, I'm trying to get work done, and I can't get work done. And, Matt's probably, punching his punching bag or whatever while he's at it. But Matt, so I'm going to give you the floor here to start out the show and give us your thoughts on the events of the last few days for the Miami Hurricanes.
Well, after that introduction, I'm going to leave you out of my college reporter playoff rankings. CRP, crap for short. To me, this college football playoff thing, they took a page out of South Korea's book and declared martial law on the Miami Hurricanes, because Miami had 2 losses and Alabama had 3. And Miami had, did you know Miami had a top 25 defense? Because every interview I heard with Mario the last 3 days, that's all he talked about was Miami's top 25 defense. I honestly think that's why I would have left Miami out of the playoffs, because I don't want to hear anyone talk about how Miami has a top 25 defense. Why wasn't he just talking about the offense being a national championship offense?
I'll tell you what, because not everybody sees all the games, Matt.
Why is he talking about Cam Ward being the most exciting player in college football, not named Travis Hunter? I mean, these are the talking points, not we were one of 7 teams that had a top 25 offense and defense, because that negates everything else you say after that, okay? I was not happy with how Miami presented their whole structure. That's why I was calling and yelling at Gary, because he also does PR and he understands this stuff. And I was annoyed they kept talking about the defense, that they deserve to be in the playoffs because of their defense also. I mean, that's ridiculous. But anyway, look, at the end of the day, this wasn't a surprise other than a couple of media people picking Miami, because Miami was behind Alabama in the AP poll. They were behind Alabama in the coaches poll. They were behind Alabama in the simulated BCS poll using the old system. There was the odds makers had Miami at plus, I don't know, 1,000 and Alabama at minus 200 or something. Like, everybody knew it was going to be Alabama, and then we're outraged and shocked that it happened. The reason we're outraged and shocked is not because we didn't know it was going to happen. It's because we knew it was going to happen. Because the ACC doesn't get respect. I don't personally think they deserve respect, okay? As much as the ACC says they want to. There's a reason Miami didn't play a top 25 team all year. It's because none of the ACC teams beat enough quality teams in non-conference games and rolled through their conference schedule to have Miami be able to play a top 25 team during the year. You need to play top opponents. You can't be playing Bethune, FAMU, and Ball State, and that gives you your top 25 ranking on defense, by the way, because Ball State had 115 yards and FAMU 190 yards. Okay, in actual ACC play, Miami gave up 370 or more yards in 6 of their 8 ACC games. And if you want to look in right now at the NCAA rankings, the team that gave up 370 yards for the season on average is a team called FIU that ranks 69th. So stop telling me, Mario, that they're 25th in defense, and let's fix some things on defense. Not talk about how great it is on defense, all right? And then the other thing I'd add is, I know everyone wants to blame Lance Guidry. I get it. But don't forget this, right? This strong, amazing receiving core. Sam Brown, the all-star signee, the free agent in the portal, who I, by the way, said I don't think would be that great, plays 5 reps in their most important game of the year and has a pass go off his fingertips. Isaiah Horton short arms a ball over the middle. Maybe he thought it was going to get hit. I don't know what was going through his head, but he short arms a ball, doesn't even come close to catching it on the final drive. Maybe if he catches that, it's either a touchdown or inside the 5, and then maybe that stupid penalty by Jacoby George, who, by the way, I said would cost them a game before the season with a dumb mistake. He actually did cost them the game then, right? And then there was the fumble earlier from Xavier Restrepo, return for a touchdown, a 14-point swing, because we all know they're going in for a touchdown on that drive, right? That's their 4 receivers. They're 4 receivers. So everyone's talking, blame Lance Guidry, blame Lance Guidry. Every one of their 4 receivers that made plays all year long in the most important crunch time failed. When Cam Ward, on that 3rd and goal play from forever, when he walked to that sideline, he looked Shannon Dawson's way, and Shannon Dawson pointed at his chest. Shannon Dawson pointed at his own chest and said, "My fault." You could read his lips. "My fault." Shannon Dawson called a bad play on the most important play of the season, and then Cam Ward didn't even respond. Shannon Ward goes, "My fault." Shannon Dawson says, "My fault," and Cam Ward just walks past him without saying anything. I mean, you can see it on the tape, okay? Like, this is not the way it was supposed to look. They were 9-0. That's why there's so much anger and frustration and not understanding what happened. Miami was on its way to a bye game, a bye in the playoffs. And, the only silver lining to me is that I think from these last 3 games, and honestly, even earlier in the season, we saw the warts against Cal, against Virginia Tech. You saw it pop up at different times, right? We probably knew, and I said it weeks ago, even when they were undefeated, I said, this is probably not a national championship team, okay? But it would be nice to make the playoffs. That's what I kept saying. And with that in mind, yeah, it's nice to make the playoffs. But I want this to be a national championship team at some point. Yeah, they have a much tougher schedule next year. I think they have Notre Dame, Florida. I think Clemson's on the schedule, right? Much tougher schedule next year, which is good and bad because
at SMU.
Yeah, because you win those games, you get respect, right? That's great. That's great because if you win those games, that puts you on your way, even with a couple of losses. Miami's problem this year is they have a couple of losses and they just haven't beat anybody great perception-wise. And they lost to 2 teams that weren't ranked at the time. I know Syracuse crept into the poll, but that's only because they beat Miami. So anyway, here's where I'm going with that. I don't want to take too much time because I know guys want to talk. But the regular bowl game isn't the end of the world because you get all those practices with these young guys. Everyone else is opting out, right? And all the starters, for the most part, were transfers or older guys. So you get to see all these young guys. You get to see Emory Williams get first-team reps for 15 practices for the bowl game, right? You can see him in the bowl game against what should be a pretty good team, I assume. That's all going to help for next year, while these other teams are basically, practicing with their transfers. There are guys who will be gone. There are guys who are going early to the NFL, right? They're practicing with those guys in December, getting ready for the playoffs. Miami will be able to really have almost a second spring practice and see what they have with these young guys against one-on-one, good versus good, right? Ones versus ones in a bowl game against the opponents afterwards. They can then evaluate, here's what we really need in the portal, whoever's still left by then, and figure out depth charts and who's going to be really good and who maybe can surprise and who shouldn't be on the field next year and things like that, right? So that's really, really important for the future. They can see the holes in the team and sort of have a different way of thinking. That's I want to keep talking so Greg doesn't have to come on here and stick his face in the camera and yell at me, but I'm out of ideas. I don't know what else to talk about.
All right, well, let's get right to the fans. I know everybody's got a lot to say, and it kind of some of it leaves you speechless, but it's still a very emotional time. It's a disappointing time, and like Matt said, all they can do is look forward now. To start developing the young kids for next season, take advantage of that bowl game opportunity, those bowl game practices, and the roster is not looking so great right now for next season. They have to slay the transfer portal, in my opinion. So we'll talk about all that. Let's go. Let's start tonight with Sebastian. Man, he's always waits patiently. What's up, Sebastian? How you doing tonight? Nice sweatshirt.
I appreciate it, man. I'm doing okay, man. I just feel like I got the post-election blues, man. This hurts on so many different levels. But what I wanted to talk to you and Matt about is how much of this really lands at Mario Cristobal's feet. And I'll give you a couple of examples. I think we mismanaged the timeout in the second half that we could have really utilized. I thought prior to the season, we missed some opportunities to get some transfers in because there was some dead weight on the team that absolutely did nothing for us this year. Shamar Kirk did nothing for us this year. I think the defensive tackle Campbell did nothing for us this year. I mean, weren't there opportunities to be able to, I'm not saying jettison some players off the team, but to really solidify your weaknesses that you had on the team when you knew that on the back end in the secondary, we had some problems. There were probably some guys that did play in the secondary that probably didn't need to be on the team, and we probably had some opportunities to get us some additional talent, and we didn't. So my question to both you and Matt is, I know everybody's like, get Guidry, but I'm sitting up here just saying, did Lance not talk to Mario and say, look, man, I need another safety. I need another corner. We're really struggling on the back end, and where do those conversations go? Your thoughts?
They took the wrong guys. Lance Guidry took the guy he wanted, Deani Hill from his former school, Marshall, total waste. They took Jadeus Richard a year earlier, total waste. I mean, I think he was a waste, not a difference maker. They had taken, people forget, right? They took Damari Brown's brother. Devontae was supposed to be the answer at one point. He's a total waste. They tried to take portal guys. Mish Powell, they tried to take portal guys. Darryl Porter was originally a portal guy too, but that was, I think, before Mario got here. Or right when he got here. They consistently are either taking the wrong portal guys, and we keep seeing this issue over and over again, guys not being developed. Like, I don't understand it anymore because it's consistent through 22 years of coaches. Our team's getting worse. Miami's team is getting worse as the year goes on every freaking year, no matter who the coach is. Like, how does that happen? How are other teams getting better during the season and Miami's getting worse no matter who's coaching? Like, I don't have an answer for you. They thought they had addressed it in the portal. For those that watch Good Morning CaneSport, they know I was consistently saying they did not address it correctly. I was saying these guys in the portal were not good enough, other than a few of them. But if you look at the defense, honestly, they're all portal guys. Mawanoa was a portal guy. The entire starting four, other than Ruben Bain, was portal guys, including Messidor originally from West Virginia. In the back end, they were all portal guys except for OJ Frederique. So, I don't have an answer for you. I was telling Gary a few minutes ago before the show started.
Davis was not a portal guy, and Williams was not a portal guy. These two guys are at safety.
Davis was a portal guy. You're talking Kinchins, you mean?
He's talking about Harris.
Jaden
Harris. Yeah, Jaden Harris, but he's not. Yeah. You're right.
What I'm saying, though, Matt, is when I look at Williams and I look at Harris, I saw an opportunity to say, hey, we're not that good at safety, and we have to figure out how to get better. And I just think we took the gamble. And to me, I don't know if that was a conversation Mario and Guidry had that just went absolutely nowhere. But I thought that there was a couple opportunities that we could have probably not cut some guys loose, but let them have an opportunity to play somewhere else where we could have shored up that side. Because aside from Jadaeus Richards getting hurt and Damari Brown getting, I mean, that I don't know if they would have made a difference, but we didn't have the talent on the back end, and we're paying for it.
Yeah, for
right.
me, Sebastian, this is not real complicated. Okay. The problems that this program's having are the same problems that it's had for many years. Let's start with the fact that South Florida is not producing the same quantity of elite impact players that it might have historically done. And then the ones that are here, the Jeremiah Smiths of the world, they're not getting. Okay. And this year they're not getting DJ Pickett or Ben Hanks either, two defensive backs that could have helped enormously. So there's some recruiting losses that are coming into play, which is really surprising to me with Mario Cristobal in the building. But to me, the bigger issue is South Florida itself is not producing enough elite talent. And Miami is having to go out and fight on the national stage for all of its talent. And it's been a bigger struggle than I thought it would be with Mario coming to town. They've gotten some very good players, but not enough of them. But more than anything, the problem that I see, and I've seen for many years, and I was hoping it would be fixed by now, is evaluation of the players that are being recruited. And Matt just went through a whole lineup of guys that were fails in the portal. Mentioned a few that are fails in traditional recruiting. There have been fails in the last like 4, 5, 6, 7 years in this Miami program that are staggering. Okay, staggering. And we take a look at it every summer when we do our State of the U series and we break down these recruiting classes, and it has been outright horrific. Okay. Well, it's gotten a little bit better under Mario, but nowhere near as good as it needs to be and nowhere near as good as he wants it to be. And Mario has got to get some more high quality talent evaluators in the building. He's got a few people that are just trying to do way too much. They're taking on way too big of a load, including himself. Quite honestly, I mean, from the outside looking in, I mean, it's horrifying how hard these guys have to work, and they need some more talent in the building, in the back office. Some real evaluators, guys that very experienced, who have a history of evaluating talent. I'd like to go see them get it from the National Football League, and just improve the hit rate of the kids they're recruiting, and so that they don't get caught being too late on the talent meter when the seasons get here. All this said, they just won 10 games. Okay, so I see what I'm talking about as big problems. I mean, massive problems. But they just won 10 games, which shows you that if they get this stuff straight, what the potential is for this program.
Oh, no, I totally get that. And, look, I'm grateful that we won 10 games. I thought that it was very important. I just hate that this probably could have been Cam Ward's last game in a Miami uniform, and how sad that is. The thing I wanted to point out to you, Gary, and I wanted you to think about is, look, there's a lot of parity in college football. I mean, and I think Shannon Dawson had a good comment when he says most of these games are tight in the first half, and you seen some separation in the second half. So there's a lot of parity. I mean, look, Manny Diaz at Duke is a 9-win team. After Duke was horrible, we're just one game better. I mean, think about that. We're one game better and we had all-world Cam Ward, the number one offense, and so forth. So there's a part of this that just says that how much of this is coaching? Like, you and Matt can tell me, do you guys feel there was any one game this year that you can say, you know what, I think Mario Cristobal and the coaching staff won that game?
Well, can I say something real quick? Because I was talking to a booster today about something similar to this, and I think you're onto something, because what he said, and I had never thought about this. A lot of head coaches, and I don't know the percent of it, but a lot of head coaches are former coordinators. They've run high-level systems at high-level programs on game days. Mario has never been an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator, and he's trying to give input on game plans. It's something's not connecting right. It's not working the way it should with the amount of talent they had on both sides of the ball, because they had talent on defense. I'm not going to say they didn't. Something didn't click, and
where's the talent?
I don't know if he's putting his hands too much in the coordinator's pie, or if the coordinators just aren't good enough. Because even Shannon Dawson had some bad moments, as good as that offense was. So I don't know the answer, but
Matt, you had some good points on that as far as being a coordinator, because I look at the Georgia Tech loss and the Syracuse loss as pretty much we just got out coached, not out talent. We just got coached, and I'm just looking at how
Certainly
much
Georgia Tech.
Right.
And by the way, John Harbaugh is being mentioned. Yeah, not every coach is a former coordinator. I said I don't have the percentages, but I think a lot of them are. And in this case with Mario, you can tell he hasn't been a coordinator because there's some game day things where you're like, what's happening? But anyway, sorry, go ahead, Sebastian.
No, I'm just saying these losses, I look at them as these were coaching losses. Like, we weren't prepared. We didn't adjust. We didn't have a strategy as we went into the games. And that's my concern kind of moving forward. Mario said something, and I don't know how true this is. Maybe you can count on it. He says there's a lot of coaches in the ACC that are like sharing and scheming.
That's true.
Sharing secrets and stuff like that. It's kind of like, if you look at the Syracuse game on the final drive, they beat us the exact same way Georgia Tech beat us.
Yes.
The exact same way, the exact same play.
They were holding that little jet sweep for the end, no doubt.
So the point I'm trying to make is I'm just curious as to this coaching staff, because I don't doubt we're going to be able to be a destination to attract talent. But if we're trying to just win the ACC and we can't win it with an all-world quarterback, with a number one offense, it's like we can't get prepared to outcoach some of these other teams. Because if we can't do that, I don't see how we make it to the next level. I'll make this last comment and I'll be done. I saw the Georgia Tech-Georgia game, and Georgia Tech was really taking it to Georgia. Yeah. I mean, they were on the precipice of a huge upset. And what I saw in the last final minutes with Kirby Smart was astonishing. And that's why I can truly say that coach won that game.
When you say Kirby Smart, does your dog start attacking people?
No, that's my dog.
All I know is you say Kirby Smart and your dog starts going crazy. I don't know what's going on over there. Is that the attack word? The kill word is Kirby Smart?
Well, I'm not going to say that. The Georgia coach.
He's doing it again. Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart him.
The Georgia coach. But he called timely timeouts. He dialed the blitzes to get Georgia Tech's quarterbacks out of sync. They went through those 8 overtimes. And to me, what I saw was it wasn't a difference in talent. It was a difference in coaching that got them out of it. And so
how about this, Sebastian? How about when they go to prevent defense with 5 minutes left in the game and they let Georgia go down the field and didn't even bother covering anybody? Like, they were just letting them complete passes. Zing, 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 zing. Georgia goes down the field. After the Georgia Tech defense pretty much dominated them the entire game, they let them score a touchdown in about a minute to pull within 7.
Mm-hmm.
Look, here's the thing, okay? Mario, I think he's a great head coach. Great head coach. He needs great coordinators, and he has to let them do their jobs, because Mario's fantastic. I think he's very good at talent evaluation. I think he's an amazing recruiter, the best head coaching recruiter in the country. And in this day and age of parity, if you have the best team, you're probably going to win a lot more games than you're going to lose if you're better than most of the other teams. Like, that's just the way it is, and that's the way it's always been. And what I said when NIL came along, I said NIL, this is coming at the worst time possible for Miami and Mario Cristobal, because NIL sort of evens the playing field in recruiting, which is Mario's bread and butter.
Yeah.
And you can see right now, Mario really hasn't built the roster as much as I thought it would be through recruiting. He's going to need to get another probably 10 to 17 portal guys because the roster's not ready and going into year 4. And part of that is other programs. And you see these decommitments recently. Part of it is other programs, even though Mario won the recruiting war. If there was no NIL, Mario's getting Knicks. He's getting these other guys merit. They're still coming here. They were committed. They're going other places because of NIL. Okay, that's just the way this day and age is. And it sort of levels the field for a great recruiter like Mario, where at the last second, a program with unlimited money comes in and they want to throw more money than Miami wants to spend for a guy. And Miami's like, you know what, we'll just get someone out of the portal. You go wherever, man. You know, we already had a deal with you. See you later. And like, that's the way it is. But like, it doesn't look good when you're losing 2 out of your last 3. You lose recruits the week before or days before signing day. It's a bad look. And that's why I couldn't believe when Mario said on the radio this morning, he said, you know, we're not trying to get any big signing day surprises. We want, you know, game day surprise or game day. It says we don't want signing day wins. We want game day wins, you know, basically saying like, you know, the days of me holding a guy to the last second and telling, okay, now you announce are over because these guys are signing NIL deals.
Yeah, I don't. Let me weigh in on some of these subjects. I don't surprisingly agree with everything Matt's saying. Okay, Mario not being a coordinator. Okay, like that's a good talking point. Mario's been coaching football for what 25, 30 years now.
Yeah.
At every level. I mean, played in that, coached in national championship games, coached under the best coach in our modern day times, has been a head coach now for what, 14, 15 years, something like that. I'm not counting it accurately, obviously, but for a lot of years, he's been a head coach. He's prepared for
Wait a minute. Are you defending Mario for a change? That's so refreshing, Gary.
No,
it's so good to hear you defend Mario. I love it.
Okay, that's nonsense, okay? Now, what you said that he needs good coordinators, I would totally agree with you on that. Because Mario's going to spend most of his time on recruiting, and he needs to know that both sides of the ball are in the best of hands. I'm not sure, that has totally been the case. I mean, I like both guys. I mean, Shannon Dawson had a pretty good year this year.
Yeah.
He had Cam Ward. I mean, they had the number 1 statistical offense in the country, but they gave up a 35-7 run in the middle of the biggest game in the year. They didn't score on 4 straight possessions in the second quarter. Whose fault is that? The defense was abysmal, I thought, this whole year. I mean, I think it was Matt said that they have talent. Show me where this talent is. Show me where this impact talent is.
I can show you. You want me to tell you right now? I'm
going to go right now real quick. You don't have to. Barrow, Bain, Mesidor. Which one of those guys had an elite season?
No, not this year. In the past. In the past, they were really good.
Noah and Basainth. Which one of those 2 guys had an elite season?
Are you not understanding what I said?
So. What defensive back had even an acceptable year this year?
You know how I know when I'm right, Gary, is when you don't stop talking. That's how I know I'm right.
My point is this: there is no talent of difference-making value on this football team, which is why what Sebastian was saying about parity is 100% spot on, as opposed to what Matt is talking about, because it is parity. And we sit here and we beat our chests, and we always think that we're so, we have a roster that's so wonderful. We don't have a roster that's so wonderful. Okay. And, we had some very good players on the offensive side of the ball this year. But I just went through the defense. We had nothing on defense this year of any high value. And I feel terrible because I'm sure some parents are watching.
Mr. Ferman, I have a question. Mr. Ferman, I have a question.
One second. You'll get your question. But if we're honest, we didn't get elite play from any level of the defense this year. And you are right about the number 27 ranking, Matt. That is total, absolute nonsense. But we are no better than all these other ACC teams, as much as we would like to think we are. Okay, we won 10 games because we had the best offense in the country, and we had the best quarterback in the country. We stole a couple wins that we normally wouldn't have had. Under normal circumstances, this would have been a 7-8 win season like all of the other ones that we've had. There is a lot of work to do on this roster, okay? And then the other thing I'll comment on before I give it back to you, Matt, is the NIL aspect of it. I'm going to actually compliment Miami on this, and they're going to take some hits in the recruiting class because of this, but they are being disciplined, okay? They have set up a very detailed budget program, whatever you want to call it, and they place value on pretty much every position on the football team. And they tell these kids when they're being recruited, this is what you are going to get in NIL year 1. Okay, you want more, you have to earn it, and you got to play up to that value. And they're not getting into bidding wars 2 days before signing day. Like, the Hilton Stubbs kid's been committed for 7 months, I think. Like, now all of a sudden, now he wants to go to Florida, and then he's going on the internet and running his mouth and saying stupid things. Like, what that tells me is the evaluation of Hilton Stubbs was not where it needed to be. Because if that's what you're dealing with, what we saw from that kid in the last day or so, you never should have been building your defensive back recruiting class around him. That's not a kid you're going to be able to count on for 3 years who is doing that type of nonsense in the last couple of days before signing day, disrespecting you, walking backwards on a commitment, going on the internet and trashing you on somebody's podcast. Like, I was like, wow, man, this is addition by subtraction. But what Miami is doing is they have a protocol in place for what guys should be paid based on what they're taking. They were burned in the early days of John Ruiz and NIL, way overpaid for high school players that never became anything, and we're wasting enormous amounts of NIL dollars. They have it under control. They have a plan. They are not reaching for kids. They're not getting into bidding wars for kids here in the final days. They're being disciplined. And maybe they'll lose a couple kids here, but I'll tell you what, man, they are going to go into that portal armed and dangerous, and it is going to be a real critical time because they have to slay the transfer portal to get this roster built for next season.
Yeah. Hey, I'll just leave with this comment. I appreciate you guys for allowing me, to speak. I guess the question.
You think Gary allowed you to speak? Is this your takeaway from this? Is that Gary allowed you to speak? Because all I saw was
I'm just trying to keep you quiet.
All I saw was him talking the whole time, Sebastian. I don't think he allowed you to speak at all, as a matter of fact. But go ahead.
No, I guess I'm just trying to center myself into what I could realistically expect for next season. We're not going to have Cam Ward. A lot of this talent is not going to be on the team. And where I'm hanging my hat on is I know we're going to get some good recruits. I know we're going to get some talent in the portal. But as what you've said eloquently, Gary, and you've been saying it a lot, if the evaluation is not on point, if we're not getting the right kids out of the portal, and if we don't have coordinators that are performing at a very, very high level, because the point I want to emphasize is I just didn't see this year, aside from the first game of the season, that was against Florida, where I thought the coaching staff really outcoached the other team and had our team prepared to win a game. I just have not seen that. To be up 21 points on the road in Syracuse, I'm not saying he has to fire Guidry. I just don't know what kind of case he makes to keep him for next year. That's where I struggle, because coordinators should be better than that. If you told me that I'm going to spot you 21 points on the road in a must-win game, you can't have one side of the ball just fail on you and accept to be successful. No surprises for signing day. Is there anyone out there that
there's a couple guys they're still working on, but nothing that's come to fruition at this point.
I'm just hoping we get Kellen Wiley. I think if we're able to get him, that'll be.
We think he's going to Texas.
Okay,
yeah.
So I don't expect any surprises. I don't know who's going to besides the point
we're not right now. There's nothing, but there's still a few hours tonight. You never know.
All right.
All right, Sebastian.
All right, so Gary,
we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Now I want to discuss the defense with you really quick. And I'll put on my smart glasses so you think I look smart. Okay. Do you remember before the season? Flashback, pretend you can actually remember something that happened more than yesterday, okay? Before the season, this was supposed to be the best defensive line in the ACC. Francisco Mauanoa was one of the top returning linebackers in the ACC. Wesley Basaint, we all thought looked a lot better in the spring. We thought he was going to have a huge season. Mish Powell played at Washington and started for a national championship team. Darryl Porter is one of the top returning cover corners statistically heading into this season. And then O.J. Frederick, as it turns out, was their best corner the whole year and was really solid until the last game. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. When you say the defensive personnel is terrible, well, you're saying it now because it's true. But they showed in the past that they were good. Like entering the season, they were good previously. Whether it was
what happened?
Or previous stops.
So let's talk about what happened for a minute.
Somehow they got worse. Something made them worse.
This is what I think happened. Okay, Mesidor's a defensive end. He's a very good defensive end. Why was he ever put at defensive tackle? That's my first question.
I agree 100%.
Okay,
listen, and he didn't want to be there. Don't put players at positions they don't want to be. They will play worse than they should.
Okay,
That's a general rule.
Ruben Bain had a great freshman year. He was hurt, but he got bigger as we knew he would. I mean, we've been talking about him being a defensive tackle from day one. But why did he ever? Why was he trying to play defensive end when he wasn't as quick as he was a year ago? He had gained weight and was not. I don't know that he was ever in great shape either. Okay, I mean, it didn't look like it to me, but that I'm not sure about. But he way underperformed what he did as a true freshman. Simeon Barrow had a decent year, but probably was over-relied upon, in all honesty. Tyler Barron, prize acquisition in the transfer portal, that before the year, and explain this one to me, he was being talked about as a potential first-round draft pick. Like Tyler Barron, it was believed that Miami really struck gold with Tyler Barron. Okay, he had a decent Gator game. He had a really good FAMU game with which wasn't too difficult. Matt, he totally disappeared from that point on. So there's your great defensive line. Okay, Kiko Minoa, he was coming back from surgery on his arm and never really seemed to be at 100% and didn't seem to have the same strength and explosion. And he had a year, I would say 50% of what he was a year ago. Bassane had a handful of good plays here or there, but never
great Florida game. His Florida game was great, but
yeah. But after that,
Powell looked great early in the year. Like that's what I'm trying to say. They got worse somehow. It's like a mystery.
Powell is slow. His lack of speed was exploited. The cornerbacks I thought were horrendous.
Well, I think what happened is as the season went along, other teams figured out a way to attack these guys, get them matched up with bad matchups. I mean, you literally could see Akeem Mesidor dropping into coverage because he was playing defensive end. Like they found ways to get crazy matchups that benefited them, and they over and over again were able to exploit it. And really, I guess Lance Guidry just didn't have answers because the personnel didn't come through for him, or because his scheme wasn't good enough, or because he wasn't willing to change things up. Like a year ago, when he went to the 3-3 stack, it was like, wow, what a genius, because he doesn't have the defensive tackles, right? They're all hurt. And it worked great, but like he didn't have an answer this year when other teams were attacking him, and that's why Mario was complaining. Other teams gave away our secrets. They could see the secrets on film, Mario, right? Because it was every game the same thing: attacking the corners one-on-one, getting defensive linemen, in zone coverage where you have your slot guys wide open, right? And the only thing Miami did well on defense most of the year was stop the run, other than Tyler Barron refusing to set an edge. Other than that, they were a miserable failure against any offense that had any ability to throw the ball at all. They were way better than they looked against other teams whenever they played Miami, and that's on Lance Guidry.
All right, so you have a situation now where, like we just went through, every single player basically in the starting lineup underachieved, did not play to what you would hope was their level of play, which never was great to begin with, but they all underachieved. There was no middle development, like nobody rising up from below them really to step up and show that they are ready to be a frontline player. The defensive coordinator clearly never was comfortable with this talent set that he was working with this year. I didn't feel like he was calling his schemes that we saw a year ago very much at all, and clearly just was not in his comfort zone with what he had here. But he is responsible for the entire body of work, which brings us to what is facing Mario Cristobal now as this thing moves forward here in the next few weeks. He's got to make a decision on Lance Guidry and how much he holds him responsible for this colossal failure on the defensive side of the ball, with undervalued performances from pretty much every single player on the defense, questionable development of the players that are in the second middle tier of the team, and the game day game planning. And Mario, that's Mario's job. He's going to have to evaluate that. All right, let's go to Greg. Greg, welcome back to CaneSport Live. Sorry we're being a little long-winded today. There's just so much to unravel here and talk about. But what's on your mind tonight?
Yeah, how you doing? Okay, quick thing on the college football playoff. Miami and Alabama had one common opponent, South Florida. We smoked them by 35 going away. They were up 5 points with 6 minutes to go at home. Okay, number two. Say the Dolphins are 11-6 in a weak division, and the Ravens are 10-7 in a better division. Who goes to the playoffs? The team with the better record. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is the difference? I don't see any difference. This from the beginning was a Big Ten SEC showdown. Why don't they just get rid of the rest of the conferences? It's a joke. Okay, let's start in now. Okay. Gary, you said there's a budget for these recruits, right? Is there a budget in the portal? Is there going to be a budget in the portal?
It's going to be a big one. I don't see where they would have had to spend a lot of money on high school recruiting this year. I don't see any $1 million recruits or anything like that. Like I think they should have a pretty good budget for the portal. I think the portal is going to be critical. I mean, it's going to be everything. If they don't hit the portal and like absolutely slay it and walk out of there with 8 to 10 starters for next year, then I'm really concerned about next season, to be honest with you.
I agree.
Okay. In the 2023 class, we supposedly recruited the top O-line class in the country. Only one of the 5 guys plays. The rest of them are scrubs. You're telling me about Mario's the greatest recruiter ever. Give me a break.
Wait, time out. Remind me now. Let's think for a minute because we're all over the place here.
Maui Gold started and has played
Correct.
well. Sampson is a waste of time.
Yes,
So
yeah.
Kinsler, Tinolau, and the center from IMG, I forget his name, Tripp. That's 5 guys. You got one starter.
I think he'll be in the portal. Sampson, I don't know what's going to happen there. I think he's still under NIL contract that he's not going to walk from because he's getting paid so much money. But so I don't know what's going to happen with that one. The other ones, Tinolau and Kinsler, I don't think you can have any opinion at all on those 2 guys yet.
Okay. Then last year, we got the best D line in the country. We got 9 guys in the 8 or 9 D linemen. You're telling me none of them are going to be ready to play next year? Come on.
I don't know, man. I mean, Justin Scott's going to probably have to. He's going to have to be a starter next year. I don't think there's any question about that. The other ones, like
McConaughey will play a lot. He's good.
McConaughey will play a lot. We don't know how good he's going to be yet, but I know they like him.
What about Armando Blunt?
We'll see.
We'll
see. We'll see on Lightfoot. We'll see. Like I'm not going to say yes. We'll see.
Another guy.
Well, none of them were good enough to help this year, so we'll see.
Let's sum it up. 3 years Mario's been here. You know what his record is? The equal of Al Golden, 22-15, 12-12 in the ACC. That is pathetic for so-called. And a guy has unlimited. He has all the money in the world to spend. And he's not getting. How do you look? You were favored in every game this year. 12 games, you were favored in every game. So somebody thought, the wise guys in Vegas thought you had the best talent of all the teams in the ACC. Do you agree with that?
I mean, I'm in favor of you relaxing a little bit. I think next year is going to be the determining factor for Mario because it's year 4. Year 4 for a college coach. You sort of know if he regresses to 8 wins next year, against a better schedule, and he has to bring in all these transfer portal guys again. I mean, we do not want shades of Florida State where every year we're living and dying by the portal guys we get from other programs.
Why does that matter, Matt? Seriously, why does that matter? I know you're hung up on that, and I know this is your thing. Because I understand, but why does it matter where you get your players from anymore? You got high school recruiting, and you got the portal.
Ask Florida State when they bring in 10 starters every year.
There was nothing wrong with what they did. They just picked the wrong guys.
Right. That's what happens. If you let me finish, I'll answer your question unless you want to keep talking.
I'm just going to say, I'm going to grant it that you put a lot of pressure on yourself when you have to hit the portal every year and you have to hit on it. But I don't think it matters where you get your players from anymore.
Mario is hitting maybe 30 to 40% in the portal, which is good if you're hitting in that and recruiting. The problem with the portal is most of them are, just let me finish. They're 1 year and done guys. They've been developed somewhere else. Ask Jim Larinaga. I know I think they're winning right now, but ask Jim Larinaga how easy it is to bring in a bunch of new guys from 20 different places, teach him a new scheme, get him acclimated with their teammates to be a good locker room, get them to learn the system, to be good teammates, to not just try to play to make themselves money for the next year and not be selfish. Good luck with all that every single year doing that. It's why you want to, when Mario Cristobal talks about his culture, good luck building your culture with guys who are constantly churning every year out of the program, right? You can't run a business like that. You can't run a team like that. He needs to do his strength, which is recruiting. He needs to do his strength, which is supposed to be developing guys. And this is part of the reason why we're saying they got worse. I think part of it is because you can't develop portal guys who've been taught in high school, taught by other coaches for 3 to 4 years at other programs. And now they come to your program and say, oh, you know what? Let's do this different. You should be doing this different. They're already set in their ways, just like me. I'm an old man. I'm not changing. I don't like having a dog. I'm never going to have a dog. Okay? You bring a dog to my house and you say, hey, I got a gift for you. I'm going to say, take it back. These portal players, they don't want to be told they need to have a new dog. They want to do it the way they've always been doing it because they think they're successful. They think that's why they got taken in the portal. They do it their own way. So good luck building your culture with a bunch of portal guys. Half the team was starters this year. Half the team that started this year for Miami was portal guys. It worked out because of Cam Ward. You can't do it every year and just think you're going to get portal guys who are going to be amazing and come together as a team every single year and make it magically happen. It didn't happen for, who was it, that first team that was amazing? Michigan State, right? They had that great run with the portal. The next year they had a losing record. Florida State, great run in the portal. Next year, losing record. You can't rely on the portal every single freaking year. It's got to be recruiting at some point, developing those guys, and then those few spots that you need free agents, you get the free agents. And that's it. That's the formula.
It depends who you get. It really depends. There's some very good players that are going in the portal. We're already seeing it. Some of the best players on LSU's team are already going in the portal. That there's trouble in paradise.
Yeah, nobody else is going to want these guys. Mine will get whoever they want because that's what happens every year.
No, you're not going to get whoever you want. But my point is
30%, 40% hit rate. It's not going to change magically.
Okay.
Go ahead, Greg.
Okay. Do you realize that was the 5th loss against when we were favored by double digits under Mario? The most in the country?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. 5 times in 3 years, you lose to a double-digit underdog? That's crazy. Now, let's get to the portal for a second.
Greg, here's what I'll say real quick on that. I personally don't think even three.
El Canado says they are eating the pets because I mentioned the dogs. That's great.
3 years into this thing, I personally don't feel he's gotten the staff totally right yet. And I think he's paying a big price for that. He has to spend an enormous amount of time on recruiting. They have a very, very poor recruiting staff. Not recruiting staff, but the assistant coaches on staff. There's not elite recruiters among the ranks of the coaching staff. There just aren't. I mean, there's some different guys who are good at different things, but Mario has to pick up the slack on recruiting for these inadequacies that he's dealing with. And I just think that other things in the program suffer because of it. And I think it's something he's got to get fixed.
Mario, if he's going to fire Guidry, and he works at a snail's pace, so he's not going to have a new coordinator in place. Who are we getting from the portal to play defense? They don't know who the coordinator is.
That's exactly what I said to Gary an hour ago. That's pretty funny.
That was one of the things he called me today screaming about.
Yeah. Greg is tapping my phone or something. There's something. Are you with China? Because I heard China's tapping everybody's phone now. Are you Chinese? I can't tell. It's a very funny picture.
He called me today, Greg. He was yelling and screaming about that for about 20 minutes.
I was. That exact question.
How are they going to get any defensive recruits? Nobody wants to play for.
I did say that. I did. That was my rant for Gary about an hour ago. There's no doubt about it. That's funny you said that.
By the way, Miami's down by 3. Okay.
No way.
Yeah, they're down 74-71.
Oh, my God.
Okay, they have the worst defense than the football team. Okay, one last point.
Shots
if I
fired.
was Miami, Quinn Ewers might go into the portal. That's where you have to go for a quarterback. Quinn Ewers.
All right, well, let's unwrap that subject for a minute because that is a hot button, and that is one of the biggest decisions that's facing the program right now and facing Mario Cristobal. You've got Emory Williams sitting there who's very, very good. And
based on what, Gary?
No, just based on what we've seen. Okay, he's very good. Well, but Greg, calm down. I'm with you on this subject. Yeah, you don't get nervous. I'm with you. But you know, they've put a couple years of development to Emory Williams. He's a very good prospect. Emory Williams wants to be a starting quarterback. Okay, you can go in the portal, and I agree with you that it would be absolute malpractice if one of those 2 kids at Texas, for example, went in the portal and they didn't make a run at them. I mean, you have to do it. But just be prepared. Emory Williams probably will leave if they do that. So now your development that Matt's talking about, where where the Matt Shodell philosophy is you have to develop your roster by developing your recruits, that goes out the window because you just developed a quarterback for 2 years who probably is on the cusp of being ready to play, who now is going to leave your program because you're bringing in that transfer. So if you're going to bring in the transfer, it better be a damn good transfer. And one of those 2 kids at Texas would certainly probably fall in that category.
You do not want to be the program with a reputation that we're going to recruit you and then replace you. Good luck getting recruits when that starts happening.
It's a big issue. But it's a problem for everybody in college football right now because there's so much roster turnover in all these programs, and there are good players that are in the portal and guys that can help you win that are probably better than the young guys that you have on your roster. And if you pass on them, you're not winning 10 games, 11 games in a season. You're going to be like everybody else in college football, winning 7, 8, if you're lucky 9. There's so much parity in the game right now, and you have to put together every year, in my mind, the best roster that you could possibly put together, and without worrying about where your players are coming from.
How do we know Luke Nichols not better than Emory Williams?
Well, we don't know yet. He's not here yet.
Quarterback in the number 2 team in high school football in the country.
He's not here yet, so we don't know.
So Emory Williams did great against Ball State. Who gives a crap? He didn't look so good against Florida State.
The point is they got tough decisions to make there. Okay, and they're going to have to see who's in the portal, and they're going to have to do what's best for the University of Miami football program, and they can't worry about who's going to have their feelings hurt and leave. You know, they just
make an offer to Haynes King.
Well, you'd have to change your offense, but Haynes King has an offense that was created for his skill set, and those coaches at Georgia Tech did an amazing job doing it. I mean, Georgia was helpless. I thought we were helpless. I thought we were helpless against it. Georgia was probably more helpless in defending those guys the other night than we were. Great job by the Georgia Tech coaching staff, but then they blew the game late in the game, and we saw why they're a 7-5 team. So I don't know. What else? You got anything else, Greg?
Yeah, one last thing, Mario. I compared watching Mario on the sideline. Then I watched Brett Key and Fran Brown. They're emotional. They're getting in people's face. Jacoby George should have been benched last year forever. They
got burned for bringing him back. They absolutely did. He ruined the season. He did. I have no doubt.
Put him back in the game after he did that.
You know what, Greg? You're right. They put Isaiah Horton back in to play later. They put Jacoby George back in to play later. Jacoby George, you see him go to the sideline, and he looks at Kevin Beard, and he says that their player just went like this for no reason. But when you see
He
it,
lied to them. He
when you
lied
see
to them, and they didn't see it live.
Yeah, Kevin Beard didn't know. So he's like, okay, the kid was an actor. And then you see it on film, and Jacoby puts his head down and smashes his head up right into the bottom of the guy's helmet when the guy wasn't even looking. I mean, that's not okay. You know, you can't have a team, you can't have players lying to their coaches that the guy just went like this.
They got burned for bringing him back.
Yeah, it was bad.
He was supposed to be gone last year. And you know what he did was unforgivable. I'm sorry, but you know it's not like he hadn't done it in the past. And they tried to give him another chance. They tried to do the right thing by him, and they got burned for it at the most critical juncture of the season when they're going in to score the tying touchdown in the game to go to the ACC championship game. He took them right out of that drive. Everyone's yelling at Mario because he kicked the field goal. You're 4th and 10. You kick the field goal, and
here we go again. Jeez.
I'm just gonna say I want to get
You like
blood pressure up. You
like the Chicago
goal, you get your defense on the field. You say, "Get me one stop, please." And
you're like, you know what you're like, Gary? You're like the Chicago Bears coach who got fired. You were saying I would still do it the same way. I'd do it again. They
every
lost
time
doing that.
Every single time.
Maybe because they lost doing that, try throwing a touchdown. Maybe that would be a different outcome because you know the way they did it, they lost. Maybe do it a different way.
A head coach standing on the sideline making game decisions, saying to himself, "My defense sucks," is going to lose the locker room.
All right, you just got fired like the Bears coach. Congratulations,
Gary. Do the analytics know how bad Miami's defense is?
I hate analytics.
If they were going to kick the field goal, then they should have onside kicked and try to get the ball back.
That is a good point.
They should have got what they should have done was get the touchdown and then go for 2. That's what they should have done. That was the only chance, and then hope that they missed a field goal at the end.
All right, I'll let somebody else get on. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't know when our next show will be.
We're Graggy.
But we'll have another show at some point. But
Next year.
Matt, no more shows? This is the last show?
No, I don't know. I haven't even thought about it. But anyway, Greg, always great to hear from you, man.
I was so happy for a moment. Not going to see Greg for a while.
All right, let's go to BK Hurricane. What's up, my man? How you doing this week?
What's up, Gary? What's up, Matt?
What's up?
I'm seeing a lot of Firelands Guidry all over the internet, and unfortunately, we're stuck with him. We're stuck. No, I think so. Mario can't let him go. This is the same reason why Mario couldn't get Jason Candle to come. Mario hires an entire staff and then brings on the coordinator. What coordinator is going to come here and not be able to bring some of his own guys? Who?
I don't know, man, but you just heard us go through what went on the defensive side of the football this year. And I got to believe all options are on the table because
it can't just I agree. It can't just be Guidry. We got to see
level. Yeah, recruiting, about development, game planning, game day. The entire thing on defense was a total fail.
The best thing that could happen to Miami right now is if Shannon Dawson decides to get some head coaching job at some school.
I don't think
he leaves, which probably won't happen.
Oh, he's trying to leave.
And if
Cam Ward is his ticket out, and I think he knows it.
Yeah. I mean, somebody's got to offer him the job first.
Right. Yeah, I don't think he's going to get a head coaching job, though.
Or somebody's got to offer him the job. In Lance Guidry's case, you got to let go of Lance Guidry, probably a defensive back coach that you just hired last year, a linebackers coach that you hired last year. If we come anywhere close to trying to fire Jason Taylor, the whole board is going to go crazy. But he's suspect as a coach.
He's probably still developing as a coach. He's only been a coach for a few years, but
right, he's real suspect as a coach. So
that's one you'll work with. You're not going to.
Right, so it's not as easy as just firing Lance Guidry. You got to let go of 3 guys. Guidry, maybe 2 other guys.
If Guidry were to go, I would think the secondary coach definitely goes because
and you got to get rid of that linebackers coach too because we saw
I think that would be the case if that actually does happen.
Yeah.
Right, we didn't see any development at any point at any position. Other than we didn't see any development. Actually, well, maybe running back.
Certainly running back, and
maybe running back
and receiver. You did, and I think the tight ends are fine. You know,
but we didn't see any development. If it wasn't for Arroyo, if Arroyo was to go down, who do we got? Cam McCormick.
No, but you saw
Much
development with Arroyo, and you saw development with Riley Williams. I mean, Riley Williams was better this year than he was his first year. I mean, we got to be
I mean,
fair.
the 3 times we saw Riley Williams this year, the 3 plays or 5 plays we saw Riley Williams this year, it's too early. We can't make that call.
He's playing behind Arroyo, man. I mean, Arroyo is going to be a
Well, listen, hey, Arroyo's got to get tired sometimes.
Arroyo was probably, other than Cam Ward, the best player on the team.
I think he's trying to say what player got better from game 1 to the end of the season. Is that what you're trying to say, or just trying to say who's good?
Nobody got better.
Right,
no, not starters. Not starters. You mean to tell me nobody outside of the starters got better? Second or third team?
I think
nobody.
A lot of guys got worse. I think Raul Aguirre, Cam, Bobby Pruitt, Flash. I don't know if they were that good in the beginning of the season. They got more reps as the year went on and looked really good. Jordan Lyle got more reps as the year went on and looked really good. There are some young guys, OJ Frederick. There is a handful of young guys, Elijah Lofton, that are a really good basis for the program, but not enough young guys played where we could say, yeah, this is going to be great. No
Nycar, no JoJo Trader.
Yeah, no, we didn't see enough guys. Yeah.
Where were they?
They were on the bench. I don't know if you noticed.
When Sam Brown didn't do anything, where were they? Where was JoJo Trader?
Yeah. Well, JoJo was coming off injury early in the year. He wasn't 100% healthy for a while. I don't know.
He should have redshirted, and he didn't. Dumb.
All right, so where was Jamar Kirk? I mean, where were these guys? Like, we had no one.
Mark Kirk is a fail. Another one of those recruiting fails that we talked about. Evaluation.
We had this problem is systemic. We had an opportunity to get pretty far in college football this year, and we blew it. If anybody's hoping for more than 9 wins next year,
well, we got to wait. You've got to wait. We don't even know what the team's going to look like, right?
Yeah, we have no clue.
Got to wait.
Listen, I'm seeing a lot of good quarterbacks dabbling in the portal. Connor Wegman said he would go in.
Yep.
The Mateer kid is going to go in.
Yeah, I think that kid. I think that kid's going to Oklahoma, but we'll see.
Right. So what do we do? I don't think Ryan Williams is a good fit for Shannon Dawson's offense.
You mean Emory Williams?
I'm sorry. Emory Williams is not a good fit for that offense.
He loves Emory Williams, but like I said, they have to look at the portal and see what's there. And if there's a elite, their top shelf quarterback with experience, I don't know how they say no. I don't think they will say no.
I mean, just thinking about the portal is scary right now, because if we have to take more than 15 guys, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. That means that all these recruits that we recruited over the years, just like Greg said, aren't panning out. Like next year on D-line, we should be able to see Armando Blunt, the Justice kid, the Lightfoot kid. All these guys should be ready. Year 2, strength and development, they should be ready to be solid contributors. Let's not say starters. I'll go on a limb and say solid contributors. And if we're going out getting defensive linemen again, that's a scary situation.
They have to.
It's scary.
It might be, but they have to. Like we just went through it. Like that you have to go get defensive linemen.
And the basketball team lost again. That's crazy. They were
they just lost to Arkansas.
Yeah, I said they're up by 10 when the show started, and then I haven't been paying attention. Jeez.
Yeah, they blew it. They blew it too. I mean, that's another coach we're going to be replacing at some point this year.
Unreal.
But yeah, like Mario's got some big decisions to make. Huge decisions to make.
He does.
He can't even gamble in the portal without knowing what he's going to do with his coaching staff.
He knows what he's doing with his coaching staff. Whatever the decision is, he's already made it. I
100%
okay.
True. Yeah.
It
says he takes it. Mario takes his time. He likes to let his coaches find other jobs. He's not a big fan of I'm firing this guy. Goodbye. He's not like that knee-jerk reaction guy. And honestly, a lot of fans right now are having knee-jerk reactions to the season and the end of the season, and like, oh my gosh, the program's dead. We're done for forever. Like, it's not ever as good as it looks, like when they were 9-0, and it's not ever as bad as it looks like it does right now. I mean, at the end of the day, beginning of the season, I said 8 to 12 wins, and they could have only won 8, right, because of Cal and Virginia Tech, and they could have won 12 because they should have won the other 2 games that they lost by close margins. So 10's where it should have been. And like, if you flash back to the beginning of the season, and we said Miami will be 10-2 coming off a 5-7 and 7-6 season, I think most fans would be like, okay, you know, that's a building season. It's the way it transpired that's making everyone so crazy and upset.
Well, it was the
At
hope
the end of
that
the
Cam
day,
Ward
at
created.
the end of the day, when 50 years from now, when you're, you know, or 100 years from now, when your ancestors look at the records and they see 10-2, they're like, oh, that was a pretty good year. You know, 10-2, that's not bad. They only had one other 10-win season. It's just, it's the way it transpired, the way it looks, the defense being so bad. Some of the personnel getting worse as the year went on. A lot of the personnel getting worse. But big picture-wise, you know, it's still gone up like every year for Mario. That's why I keep saying next year is the key, because year 4, if you go up and then down, that's like all the stocks I have on the market. I don't get the Donald Trump bounce. I get the Donald Trump dump. And so, like, you know, you can't have that. So that's why next year, you know, I'm just looking at next year right now. I'm not focused anymore on the past. As Mario says, 1-0. I want to know.
Yeah.
I hate that
What's
saying,
done
by the
is
way.
done. What's done is
Exactly.
done.
Let's move
We
on to
didn't
the
make the
next.
playoff.
Move on to the
Let's
next.
just get this bowl win. I want to go out with the win.
Yes, I agree.
I want to go out
It's
with the
gonna be hard
win.
to go out with a win.
With young
It's gonna
guys
be
looking
very
great in
hard.
the game. If young
They're
guys
gonna
look great in
play.
that game, no one will be happier than me.
It's going to be very difficult to go out with a win because they're going to be playing a decent team because they're going to
And
get a good.
also, it's going to have everyone opting out, Gary. Both teams are going to have everyone opting out. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Like we don't know who's going to be playing against them. I agree, but it could end up being very similar to the bowl game last year that they lost. It means nothing. But
But that bowl game last year, that team gave up. Though we had no business losing to Rutgers.
You don't think this one's given up after this?
Not the
Well,
young
let's see
players.
what. Oh my
Well,
God, this is
that's
bad.
why you got to play the younger players and let them develop. But all the younger players have never really played very much. So
They're going to play hard. Listen, one thing you cannot say about this team is that it gave up. Those guys played hard. You remember the last few years before Mario got here? We were like, this team's quitting. This team's soft. They don't want to play. They're not having fun. This team this year, every single game, they gave effort.
Yes.
Every single rep. And you know what? If that's part of the culture Mario's building, I'm all in for that. Like that. There, as many negatives as you want to say there were positives, and that was a big one. This team never quit. This team never let up. This team had a great mentality about it, a great fight about it, and you can't take that away from this team.
Well, that's why I laugh when people try to say that the program's no better with Mario than it's been in the past. I mean, that's insane. I mean, the infrastructure of the program is better. The culture is better. They have more staffing than they've ever had. There's just still a lot of things they need to do better. No argument there, and they just got to find a way.
Real quick, Gary.
21-0, they gave up. Somebody posted that 21-0, they gave up. What do you think, BK? Do you think they gave up when it was 21-0, or just Syracuse had a really good offense and Miami's defense sucks?
Well, no. I didn't think that. I think that Shannon Dawson dropped the ball there. Like that wasn't a Lance Guidry thing to me. I think Shannon Dawson dropped the ball.
Really?
We knew by the 9th game that we were just going to have to outscore everybody. We knew the defense wasn't any good. So once we're up 21 points, it's not a time to just kick back and hope that the defense does something. We should have gave the car more gas. And we didn't. Everybody knows how to beat us. Keep the ball out of Cam Ward's hands. We could have kept the ball out of McCord's hands by running the ball. Run the damn ball. Eat up the clock. Give them less possessions. These last 3 games,
we
can't blame Guidry. This is all Shannon Dawson.
They got baited into a shootout.
Right. We knew 9 weeks into the season that we're going to have to outscore everybody.
And you know what the crazy thing is, BK? Running the ball is Mario Cristobal's game. There's nobody.
And they didn't do it
more than Mario. I think they got mesmerized by the Heisman chase, Cam Ward.
Ward, the gift and the curse.
The top offense in the country.
He was just a gift. There was no curse.
They got baited into a
Cam Ward was the gift and the curse. I'm telling you.
He's just a gift.
You're right. Yeah,
he was a gift and a curse.
No, he's not wrong. It's crazy, but you are right, because the path to winning that game the other day was not Cam
was to run the ball
500 yards. Correct.
I'm on with 2 crazy people. You could put Bruce on now.
Control the clock.
Run the ball. These losses.
Limit Syracuse's possessions.
Exactly. These losses were not Guidry's fault. Everybody knew.
No, let's not get crazy, okay?
No. From week 9, no, Gary, to be fair, from week 9, there was no way we were going to expect that Lance Guidry was all of a sudden going to come out with a master game plan. No. From week 9 on, Mario should have said, listen, do what you got to do. We have to score 50 every game because the other team is scoring 40. The other team is going to score 40. Facts, all facts. The other team is going to score 40 points. We have to score 50. We're up 21-0. What do we do?
That's kind of how they were playing.
What do we do?
I mean, now you're kind of talking both ways, BK, quite honestly. Because if you're
I mean, I am.
If you're talking about scoring 50, you're not going to be running the ball the whole game.
No. But we all kind of knew that we had to outscore the other team. But when you get a 21-point lead, now you could just start pounding the ball. It's 21 points.
I will tell you, I think Miami thought its defense was better than what fans thought, which is scary. Because
no way.
Because they're with these guys every minute of practice. They see these guys. These coaches know football a little bit more than Gary, not as much as me. But these coaches, saw these players, and they actually thought that they were good and thought they could.
They thought they were good because you were seeing mediocre against mediocre.
Well, the offense is really good, so no, they weren't. But what happened, I think, is when games came along, other teams were doing the same things to confuse the defense and that made the defense play slower than what they look like in practice. Like when you're doing walkthroughs, you're not going fast anyway. But when you're doing walkthroughs, it look like you understand it. They're not really hitting and tackling in practices. Like I think the practice maybe needs to be changed somehow. I don't know how when you don't have depth, but they need to start going like killing each other like in the old days, because it just seems when they get in these games, they're playing slower than they are in practices and things like that, right? And that's not going to work. Like this is not the way it used to be on Green Tree when I covered practices when I had brown hair, like back in those days. They would kill each other every single practice, twice a day.
That's because they had faith in the guys behind the starters, Gary. They were able to do that.
Yeah, well, I'm Matt, but yes, I agree with. Other than you calling me Gary, which is one of the biggest.
They
insults,
had faith. If Santana Moss goes down, let's bring in Andre Johnson. If Clinton Portis go down, let's bring in Willis McGahee. They had faith in the guys behind the starters.
At some point, they got to just stop thudding and start tackling. And there's a reason why there was no injuries in practices right anymore in the fall and in the spring. It's because they don't put themselves in position to get injured. And I know fans hate it when there are injuries. But there's there's two sides to the coin. I mean, either you're going to get after it and kill each other and risk injury, but be better for it, or you're going to think your guys are that good that they don't have to practice hard and kill each other physically in practices. And I don't know if there's a happy medium, but they got to find it.
I think they're not hitting each other because they know what's behind these guys.
Well, it's just modern day. This is what they do. I mean, it's
God forbid if X was to go down. Who do we got coming in for X?
Yeah,
right.
no,
Xavier, nobody
developed. No. All right, BK, I gotta let you go, man. I got other people.
All right, Gary,
that want to slice and dice it. But thanks for being part of the show, man.
All right, but we got to win the bowl, Gary. We got to win the bowl.
Well, let's see who's playing in it.
All right,
and who they're going against. All right, BK. Thank you, man. Geez, I got it. We got it. Matt, we're gonna go one more, and then I'll do the flip over. Okay. Let's go to T-Dog. Because I like his he's got a great background tonight. Wait, let me go to the wide look here, because coaching. Wow. That's like this is big time and professional here. Coaching over 5-star players. What'd you do? Did you create that for the show?
I did.
Somebody was doing some Photoshop today.
I'm a computer science man.
I'm pretty sure you got 6 stars over there, but whatever. That's really
look at that. No, he's got at least 7. We just the picture doesn't go wide enough.
I know. I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt.
How y'all boys doing tonight, man?
We're doing all right. How you doing, T-Dog? Rough times, man. Rough times.
Bro, my son, my 12-year-old was crying, man, tonight when they showed the results. He's a football player. He was heartbroken, man, because I thought we were going to get in, actually. I really did think we were going to get in, but then I forgot about just how strong that SEC shit is, man. And
yeah, my son couldn't believe it either. He was like in shock. I said, listen, I tried to tell him this was coming. Like, I saw it coming. That's just how these people do this stuff. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy, man. A team, and Greg brought up a great point about, and I've always been saying on the message board about the NFL being king, but he brought up a great point. In no other sport do you look at conferences and be like, oh, I'm going to reward you because you're in this conference. Like, what about the fact that you lost your games? You lost against a 5-5 team and only scored 3 points. Like that to me is glaring. Like, why would I put that team who can only score 3 points against a 5-5 team in the playoff? I just don't I mean, I would have been happy if you had put somebody else over Miami besides Alabama. Alabama?
Yeah. I mean, my feeling is we can't complain. We blew it.
Granted, I agree. I agree with that. We blew it. I'm just talking about the fact that they put them fuckers in there, man. Like, seriously? Like, I wouldn't have been upset they put Carolina in there. Bro, I'm telling you, Alabama's going to get exposed again. They are not good. Jalen Milroe can only run the ball, and that is it. He's an extraordinary running. He can't throw for shit.
He's got to deal with Al Golden. He's going to have to deal with Al Golden.
Oh, man, they're going to get thrashed. But anyway, so, yeah, I just want to say the 5-star coaching over 5-star players. Remember that. And the reason why I say that is because look at where we are, Gary. Look at the players that are in other teams in this conference right now that are kicking ass, who we thought were, like, not good players, by the way. No, man. We got to start calling it what it is, bro. We got to start calling it what it is. Look at what that guy did when he was here with a quarterback who's no longer here, by the way. I won't even mention his name. He was here last year. But look at what that same coach did with that.
He's a very good coach, T-Dog. But they played nobody. Come on.
Gary,
their schedule was worse than ours.
I agree. But so why can't we win ours? So you're saying, and then
because we blew it. We blew it.
Why? But why? I want to know the why. Everybody
because at Georgia Tech, when the defense couldn't stop the run, Mario wasn't able to rise above it and make sure he put points on the board every chance he got. They left 2 field goals and an extra point, 7 points on the field in a 5-point loss. Okay. Mario kind of screwed that one up a little bit, following the analytics, the same analytics that so many coaches are getting burned by these days. But so that's what happened at Georgia Tech. Defense couldn't stop them. And then Syracuse, the whole thing was a debacle, in my opinion. I mean, that was a team loss every single step of the way, man. It was, we look at how bad the defense was, but the offense that second quarter was horrific.
I agree.
And then turning the ball over and Jacoby George and dropping passes and everything. I'm sorry, they blew it.
So you mentioned going back to that game, actually, the Syracuse game. You said if he would have went forward on fourth, it would have been like telling your defense that you suck. You know what else tells your defense that you suck? Not getting into the playoffs because your defense sucks. Losing defensive recruits over the last few days because your defense sucks.
No. They did not lose the recruits because the defense sucks.
Retired coaches who now run YouTube shows showing cut-up clips of your defense sucking shows that your defense sucks. We won't even mention his name because this is a different show. I don't want to do that. All right. All those things tell you that your defense sucks. So going for it on 4 down is the least of your concern about telling your defense that it sucks. There's plenty of evidence.
He was saying to Lance Guidry, Lance, please. Okay. No, just give me 1 or 2 good play calls. Get a stop.
You know what?
Get us the ball back.
Lance did that in the beginning when you went up 21-0. There was no more of those in the bag.
But now, just to show you one thing, though, T-Dog, like what happened in the Virginia Tech and Cal games? The defense in those same situations made the plays. They did it at Georgia Tech. They got the ball back at Georgia Tech. We got the ball back at the end of the game with a chance to win.
Every
game, they succeeded. Everybody forgets because they're mad about this particular game.
No,
the defense succeeded in that situation multiple times this season.
You can't pull from that and then apply that to this. Every game.
Why? Because you're playing the result.
You know why? Because look what you did against the Gators. Have you seen that since then? So why would you think you could just pull it when you want to? Every game stands on its own. Every game is its own entity, Gary. It really is. Have you seen that defense since the Gator game? I haven't.
No.
Right. So why would you think?
And why would it have been so much better in the Gator game? Let's think about that for a minute. Why would it have been so much better in the Gator game? They had 6 months to get ready. That's why. Here they're getting ready week to week once the season got going.
Why are we still talking about the Gator game? Can I read the post of the year because it just came up on our message board?
Sure.
All right. Perfect. JTH007. I guess he's a secret agent. He says they asked Mario Cristobal today on ESPN why he kicked the field goal. He said, "quote because I am a wimp." End quote.
Oh, come on.
Oh, damn, man! I thought you. Bro, that was like a burst in a dad joke. That was
Yeah,
horrible.
seriously.
That's
With
not
that
the coach of the year?
that's what you're giving us.
Me and Gary on the road, we're
I just
fighting.
want to change the subject. I'm so
Me and
sick.
Gary
Honestly, I'm so
we on the
sick.
road, and you come in here.
I gotta tell you, I'm
with
sick
that
of talking about
weak
this
shit,
season
man.
already. I'm sick about it. I'm getting people texting me. Friends of friends are texting me who I don't even know who they are. Like, I just.
Man, you're my spirit animal. I expected more from you, man.
I think people want answers, but there are none because it's a little bit of everything.
No, there
You
are
can talk about the
some.
Florida game and then this game and that, and Alabama almost lost to USF and this and that. Like, I get it, but at the end of the day, Miami lost 2 of its final 3 games to teams it should have beaten.
True.
You know, and
Or
we
at least
don't know why.
one of them.
We don't know why. People are blaming the offense, right? The last guy was saying, "Oh, it was the offense." The guy before that's like, "Oh, it was the defense." It's everything. People say it's Lance Guidry, it's Shannon Dawson. People say it's Mario Cristobal. Literally, you can blame every single player and every single coach on the team, and that's what people are doing. But there's no one, hey, it was this. And that's the problem, right? Because if it was one, it was this, you can fix it. But when it's everything, you can't fix it. And it's like everyone's going in circles. And this stuff's making me crazy, which is why I changed the subject with the post of the year.
I'm not going in circles. I'm sticking with my explanation. It all goes back to the evaluation of players in recruiting. There's not enough elite talent on this football team to get you out of jams. That's my opinion.
So Gary, speaking about that, so where has Mario failed as a recruiter this season, in your opinion? Because he is the recruiter.
I think that Mario the recruiter is compromised by NIL. I think Matt's right about that. I think he remains one of the best head coach recruiters in the country, but I think NIL has polluted the recruitment of players to the point where it diminishes his ability as a recruiter. So that's one thing I think has come into play. Number 2, you're not recruiting 18, 20 players anymore every year. You're recruiting 40. That's a huge burden. And when you have a coaching staff that's not great at recruiting, and you as the head coach are having to compensate for that with 40 signees a year, dude, Mario's Superman, okay? He's the Incredible Hulk. I mean, I've never seen a human being like him, quite frankly, with his work ethic and his passion and the commitment that he's willing to make to his job. But what he is asking himself to do is insane, okay? And he can't hold up. It's impossible to take on the burden that he's taking on and like be able to function. Like I think it's got to be just affecting him at every level, and I think he's got to change that. I think he's got to get some competent talent evaluators in this building. I think the players that are being brought to the head coach need to be better, because no, he's not doing all of the thousands of evaluations that need to take place in a recruiting process where you're evaluating all these kids in high school, you're recruiting all these kids in the portal. The head coach isn't doing that himself. They have to elevate that in this program. He needs to surround himself by a higher grade of talent evaluators that know what the hell they're doing, so that when the players that are being brought to the head coach, who's then going to recruit them like a maniac, that they are the right guys. And I don't want to like diminish, the 85 that we have right now, but there is not a lot of elite in that 85, and that has to change.
Matt, in your opinion, what's missing more on this team, coaching or players?
Oh,
more.
Man.
I know we're missing a little bit of both, but more. Which one more? We're missing more.
Coaches or players? You want to know which one is lacking more?
Yeah, like what are we lacking more? Seriously, because to me, I feel like
before Matt answers that, let me go into disguise, because I gotta go to the
Matt,
short.
you're my spirit animal. Keep it real for me. So keep it real.
You're talking to the wrong guy, because I firmly believe, after watching Larry Coker coach a national championship team, that the best players will always win with worse coaching, and that the best coaches can't win with bad players. So I'm always going to be on the side of it's the players not being good enough, because if you have the best players, even bad coaches will win championships. Okay.
Yeah, but that was like an all-time great roster, though. Like, how many times did that come around? So that we can't use that. That's
my baseline. That's why I started covering this team. Is if you get the best players, it doesn't matter. So if you're so let me break it down. Game day coaching, I blame the coaches. Bringing in personnel, it's to be determined, but that's going to be the biggest factor, because if Mario Cristobal brings in the best players, he doesn't have to be the best game day coach, right? He was never the best game day coach at Oregon. He was probably never best game day coach at FIU because I never watched any of their games, so I can't tell you for sure. But like that's his reputation. He's not a good game day coach, but he still won at FIU. He still won at Oregon, and he's won 10 games here. Not as a good game day coach, right? In everyone's opinion, not just my own. So you've got to get the better players, the best players, and that's how you're going to win and just be better than everyone else by this much more. And so that's where it has to go to. So the players weren't good enough, obviously, this year. And they need to get better players because the coaches are what the coaches are. Mario is what Mario is. And, I'm not going to sit here and say he's a terrible coach. He's done great things at Oregon. He did great things at FIU. The coordinators, I think, are still even as good as Shannon Dawson did this year. I think it was the Cam Ward offense, not the Shannon Dawson offense in some respect. And I said when they both came in, I said, listen, they could both be home run hires, but the caveat is, I think Shannon Dawson had maybe one high-level coordinator job, and he wound up getting fired from it, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. Lance Guidry never had a high-level job. His next step up was going to be Tulane, and he wound up taking this job instead. And I think Mario took him because Mario loved what he saw from his defense when Guidry was a coordinator at whatever low-level program facing FIU. So, neither of these guys, to me, Shannon Dawson at Houston, Lance Guidry coming from, wherever, neither of them had a proven high-level resume where they've coached high-level players and high-level programs against other high-level coordinators, right? That's the key. Because when you're playing ACC, SEC, whatever it is, programs, you're playing the top coordinators in the country versus, when you're at FIU or some other program, yeah, you might be a really great coordinator at that level, but you haven't faced the great coordinators from Louisville's and et cetera, that are going to really scheme you up a whole lot differently. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I said, it's sort of unclear when they came in how they're going to react to that. And I think the first year of Lance Guidry's system, it worked out fine. Yeah, they weren't great statistically. I think they're actually ranked better this year in total defense than last year. But last year he did some really good things with a not great defense, a defense that had some holes. This year, I thought his personnel was actually maybe better than last year's heading into it. And he did worse overall, in my opinion, even regardless of the statistics. I think everyone agrees with me. He did worse this year than last year by far.
Correct.
So,
I think that is. If you're asking me
better
this year, how did he do worse? Or was the talent better?
Right. Well, that's the thing, right? Other teams, I think other coordinators figured him out. It's like I use the analogy of a rookie hitter's hitting 400 through 30 games, and they figure out, oh, he can't hit the outside curveball. And now he's hitting 180, right? They figured something out about Lance Guidry's defensive scheme, and they consistently are getting these one-on-one matchups on the outside with their best receiver against smaller cornerbacks, slot guys going against linebackers, in coverage. They know where the zone's dropping to off the line. They figured something out against this defense that he is not adjusting to in order to fix it. So to me, yeah, Lance Guidry's been a failure for sure. Shannon Dawson, I'm not going to say he's great. I'm going to say the jury's out. I need to see him with another quarterback because, with Tyler Van Dyke, he was terrible. With Cam Ward, he was great. So I need to see him with somebody else.
In fairness, any coordinator needs a good quarterback.
Yeah, so, give him a good quarterback, not a great one. Yeah, I agree. Give him a good quarterback, and then I'll make a judgment. I can't make a judgment on him yet, great or bad. Okay, Mario Cristobal, I think he's great. I'm biased because I know him personally. I think he's a great guy. I know he works harder than anybody I've ever met in my life, and I know he bleeds for this team. Unlike other coaches who just go home, eat their chicken, and watch TV with their kids. He works. Mm-hmm. He will give his life for this program.
You can see it. You can feel it. I believe that.
So I'm never going to say that guy doesn't do a good job. I don't care if they win one game next year. I'll still say he's working his ass off to make this program better, because that's what he's doing.
I just think the focus needs to be go hire rock star coaches, bro. I'm telling you.
That's what I said. I said they didn't have to. That's exactly what I said.
I've never seen. And I don't think we put enough premium on that. Think about those titles that we won. Where did those coaches go after that? The NFL. These guys ain't going to the NFL. There has to be a premium on coaching. Football is not like basketball. There's so many parts that move. You need
harder than it's ever been, man. You're recycling your roster every year now. You're absolutely right, T-Dog.
One last point before I leave. You mentioned recruiting, and I told y'all this on the message board about 6 years ago because of some of the work that I do in policy and stuff. Do you realize that 50,000 people have moved from the state of Florida to Georgia over the last 2 years?
Really?
Yes.
Georgia has overtaken Florida.
I told y'all 6 years ago on the old message board that Georgia was going to be the recruiting hotbed. I see so many people up here from Fort Lauderdale. I'm originally from Fort Lauderdale. I lived there for 20 years before I moved up here.
Mm-hmm.
I see so many homies up here now. So many, and a lot of them have kids that are in middle school, football players, high school.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia recruiting is where it's at, especially in Gwinnett County.
What kind of policy are you working in?
I'm not going to go there yet.
I'll
email you separately.
You're one of the government employees getting fired by the new administration. Congratulations.
He's CIA.
I got some haters out there, so I can't be divulging too much information, too much PII. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is Georgia recruiting is where it's at, bro. Mario needs to focus all his recruiting up here. Get those one-offs down there, those handful down there in South Florida, the Jeremiah Smiths of the world. But you're from top to bottom, every position, line, D-line, corner, up here. And not just because of South Florida moving up here, but because Georgia just naturally has great talent as well. So,
and they end up taking a lot of kids from South Florida that they really shouldn't take because they're from South Florida, because they have to appease the football community down here.
But it ain't like that. It's not like it was when I was down
in
the
90s.
It's
not even close. But I'll tell you one thing, T-Dog, when that Jeremiah Smith comes along, you better win. Okay,
go all in for him for the DJ Pickett's of the world. You got to get those guys. But
you better win. Yep. And we're not right now.
Your core of your team, Georgia, I would put a lot of my coaches up here and get as many guys as possible, man. Because I'm telling you,
they recruit Georgia heavy.
Yeah, it's a lot of Floridians up here, man.
Thanks for doing that professional background for us. We like that.
Man, that's what I do, bro. That's what I do.
All right, man. We'll see you next time. All right, Matt, before we let you go and bring in the voice of the fan, Bruce Warner, Hurricane Danny wants to hear you go off.
What?
So go ahead, man. Give us 30 seconds of Matt Shodell going off before you go off to bed.
I mean, the only thing I can go off on usually is don't dress your dogs in clothes that are meant for humans. That's all I ever talk about. Look, I've already said I don't have to rehash everything. I was very upset, which is why I've been calling Gary for the last, ever since the game happened, at numerous different aspects of this team and this program right now, because we didn't think we were going to be here in year 3, right? When Mario took over, this was not supposed to be what happened at the end of year 3. If you're going 9-0, it's very upsetting, and I get it. But I would also urge fans to take a breath, because Matt Shodell's not going to go off. Matt Shodell's going to be very calm, because I still have hope. Somehow, that loser who, even though this movie keeps happening to me, it's the movie where the bad guy wins at the end. Every single time you watch this movie, if you're a Miami Hurricanes fan, right? The good guy's supposed to win at the end in the movies. Not for Miami fans for the last 22 years. But I'm still hopeful that at some point the movie will have a different ending. I don't know why I believe that. It's the definition of insanity, right? You think something different is going to happen when the same thing keeps happening over and over again. So I would say, we're all insane. We're all happily insane and all hopeful that there will be a different ending, not this year, but next year. So, that's my mini rant. I don't know. Is that a rant? I have no idea. And don't dress your dogs in human clothes. They already have their own outfit. It's called dog. Okay. Don't go to the Caneswear shop and buy dog clothes. That's it.
All right, Matt. Well, check your email, because I just sent you something.
Wow.
And we thank you.
You're giving me a raise to $6 an hour? Oh my God! Thank you.
Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your wisdom on tonight's show. But you're now out, so goodbye. And we're going to bring in the voice of the fan, Bruce Warner, to the party here. I'm sure you've been enjoying watching this this show so far, Bruce. Before we go back to our guests, your thoughts on what you've witnessed over the last few days. We can't hear you. You got to put your mic on.
How about now?
There you go.
All right. So I don't know where to start. I mean, I just heard everything you said for an hour and 40 minutes. So there's a lot. I mean, I can't disagree with the Gator game was the best game we played, and we got progressively worse. And I don't know whether it was we had 8 months to get ready for it or not. I think it was Sebastian who made this comment. We were outcoached against Georgia Tech and Syracuse. But you know what, Gary? We were outcoached in many of the games, but we just happened to win them. And I think that's true. There's a lot of games we were outcoached, but Cal, Virginia Tech, maybe some other teams. We were lucky to win those games. I don't want to use the word luck, but because we did win. But I don't know if we're really a 10-2 team. We easily could have been 7-5, 6-6, 8-4. So, it's like a house of cards to me. It just fell apart at the end. What's this? This guy says you swore up and down we would win, and we lost. What's up? I guess because me and Gary and Matt weren't coaching, that's why we lost. But I'm trying to figure out how this team could play defense against this offense for 12, 13, 14 weeks during the season, plus fall practice, and be this crappy.
And then show up that bad for Syracuse. It's a great question. Great question. It's not like they didn't get enough practice.
What didn't they see Sunday to Friday when they were practicing against this unbelievable offense? Were they tackling everybody? Were they intercepting passes? What the hell happened that they didn't do anything? What do you think?
Bruce, I have no explanation for what we saw on defense on Saturday. I thought it was embarrassing, quite frankly, and I can't believe it for the reason you just said. It's not like they don't get enough practice defending the pass, and I keep flashing back to before the season in watching spring and fall camp, and like the defense. There were days you're talking about the number one offense in the country. There were days the defense was dominating practice.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know what's happened to these guys. Obviously they lost their confidence, a lot of them. There clearly was disconnects somewhere in game planning and how that was being communicated to the players, and how there might have been some issues with how hard the players were working on the game plan each week. I don't have all the answers, but I didn't expect the defense to be good. I was stunned in some of these games at how bad they were. And
but Gary, after the Gator game, did you have any concerns about our defense?
Not at all. I thought they played great against the Gators.
They didn't miss
but think about what was the one standalone of that game? It was the amount of time they had to prepare for it.
Right.
And they were very well prepared for that game. There were no mental busts and things like that. It was a clean game, very professional looking team.
Well, one of the guys didn't seal the edge in that 71-yard touchdown run, but other than that, they scored at the end, Florida. But
massive regression.
Right. And you guys know, I talked to a ton of former players, and in the last 2-3 weeks, I talked to maybe 20. And I keep hearing the same thing. The secondary is having trouble because the front four is not getting to the quarterback. There was way too much stunting and too much of this garbage. And then against Wake Forest, they went straight up the field and they destroyed them. Now, I don't know what happened the other day. They were up 21-0 and the bottom fell out. But I don't remember seeing, maybe when Butch was here for like a year, the first year, the defense being this poor. He was lacking talent. But, there's talent on the team. I just thought the defensive calls and the schemes were horrible. They didn't blitz. These kids, and you look at the two losses. The quarterback gets the ball, he takes it, and he looks to the right, he throws it, gets rid of the ball quickly. These guys were getting rid of the ball quickly. They were taking advantage of Miami's over pursuit. They put guys in motion, and they created all kinds of problems. And I still can't figure it out. I don't understand how they could be this bad. So none of their secondary guys are any good. So I agree with you. Who's the best player on defense? Could you pick somebody out for this season? When Barrow was healthy, he was damn good. He was in the backfield. He was making sacks all by himself without any help. He looked really good. You're right.
Probably have to say him.
Yeah. And he got hurt, and you could see it. But
that's insane.
But he was doing things that Sapp and Russell and Cortez and Jerome did. Get up the field and create problems in the backfield. Then you have your other guys come and help. If you don't make the sack, somebody else does. But they weren't doing that. And Barron, oh my God, what happened to him? Every time the ball was there, he'd go loop around. Who's teaching him these things? Jason Taylor? I hope not.
Yeah, obviously Jason was involved there, but I don't know what went on specifically with each individual player, but I do know that they all regressed as the year went on.
Right.
There was very little player development on the defensive side of the ball. Nobody coming from the middle tier of the team rising up. I mean, there were some guys that got some reps, Pruitt, Popo Aguirre, you know.
And I told you, I thought Moten was playing good. He wasn't on the field all the time, but when he was in there, look at the film. He was in the backfield constantly, and that's when he tackled.
There were individual moments in certain games where he did very well.
You know what? If you're looking at
the NFL is sitting there saying, "I have to have that guy."
Well, he's not a senior. He didn't play that much the first 2 years. He was out of shape, overweight. He looks better now. He looks quicker.
A lot.
You know, when you compare what's going on now to when Butch was here, Butch took players and most of them got a lot better, which we haven't seen yet.
No,
he was great.
Mario's gonna have to attack this big time on the defense. He's gonna have to attack the defensive side of the ball.
Absolutely,
here. No doubt.
I don't think this coordinator should be here. I look at the DB coach. What did he do this year? Although maybe he's got nothing to work with.
I feel pretty good about where they're going on offense when they add a few pieces in the portal. Defense needs a massive retooling. So we'll see what happens.
Definitely.
Let's go to Rocky. See what Rocky has to say. Welcome to CaneSport Live, Rock.
Hey guys, how y'all doing tonight?
Hey Rocky, how's it going? Good.
Pretty good. I'm going to try to attempt to answer this Lance Guidry conundrum. What's the difference between what Lance Guidry had this year and what Lance Guidry had last year? I think we all kind of see and agree that we say it anyway, that he did more with less last year. Would that be a correct statement? At least on paper.
Yeah, because he changed the defense.
Yes.
Right, he changed the defense. But what was the difference between last year and this year? You know what it is? It was the back end. Guidry runs his defense through his safeties.
Correct. 100%.
Right? So Cam Kitchens and James Williams were huge losses. What happened was
for this coordinator and his defense, you're 1,000% correct.
I agree.
So what they did was they screwed up. They thought that they could get away with running the same defense. They thought where they screwed up was Mish Powell. Mish Powell was probably the biggest miss of everybody that we brought in the portal. Not to say that he didn't have his moments.
Right, he had moments, Rocky.
But probably in there somewhere, and I'm speculating now, probably in there somewhere, he Jaden Harris, and probably Damari Brown, the guy that got hurt at the beginning of the year, were going to be the ones that were going to be responsible for all this communication that Cam Kitchens did last year and James Williams did last year, and other guys back there. Damari Brown gets hurt. It doesn't work out that way with Mish Powell. Now, who do you go to?
Right.
I mean, that is, everybody said, what happened? When you look at it logically, that's the only considerable answer I can give to try to get.
I talked to a couple of former DBs, Dwayne Starks and a couple of other friends of mine, and they all said the same thing. The communication was horrible, especially in the Cal game. These guys, the quarterback would look left, and the guy would come up like he's going to throw it to him. He'd blow right by him, and nobody covered. Safeties weren't over the top. That was a mess, and that happened a lot. Didn't happen in the Gator game, believe it or not. I don't know why.
Well, like Gary said, they had a long time to prepare for the Gator game.
Yeah, but you know what that means? That means that all these other coaches that had the same short 1 week period to get ready for us, they weren't getting ready for us in April. If we played them in the 7th game, they were getting ready the week between 6 and 7. They were smarter than our coaches. They outcoached our guys.
Well, but if you strike out on the guys that you depend on the most to be the major communicator back there, that's bad.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we saw, and gradually getting worse, like as you guys say, and as we all saw. To me, that's the best explanation I can find for it.
And if Bain would have not been hurt and played like he did last year, that might have helped. Yeah, because that was something that nobody expected.
Because Bain wasn't the same guy this year.
Third game of the season, he didn't play for like 2 months.
No, wow. Bain wasn't the same guy at all compared to
what happened
last year. That injury really set him back big time. But what you've got now, let's talk about result. So what you've done now with this 10-win season is you've set a bar, right? Mm-hmm. And now you've got a big conundrum now, because Gary, I agree with Matt. you do not want to get caught in a situation where we become an institution that relies on the portal. I disagree with you. I still want to be a true recruiting foundational program. And here's the problem. And I looked at Matt's eligibility set that he did, his update to everybody that we got coming in and everybody that was going out. People have to understand that what we have right now is our foundation, right? Is our foundation. We have no choice this season but to go hit the portal hard. Because looking at what I saw, you can't depend on Armando Blunt and Justin Scott and all those guys to be your starters. No way. You cannot.
I totally agree. I think they need at least 10 starters in the portal.
Absolutely.
I don't have the exact count because I haven't done the analysis to that depth yet, but I'm ballparking it at about 10 starters they need to get in the portal.
Yeah, and they need to nail them, because if you're dependent on these guys that haven't seen a lick, I mean, what? Justin Scott had, 6 snaps or whatever it is this year, whatever it was.
Well, he had more than that, but still.
You're right. But he doesn't have extensive time, right?
No.
So if you're dependent on those guys to go be your leaders next year, you're in a lot of trouble. So whoever you do take in the portal, you've got to go nail. On top of, and also too, at quarterback, you have no choice now than to go get a quarterback, because Cam set the bar at 10 wins. So, I mean, that's what the fans are going to expect now, right? So you got to go get a Quinn Ewers. You got to go try to get a John Mateer. I don't think you can take a kid like C.J. Bailey, because he's a developmental. You got to get a stud. To me, you've got to get a stud.
You don't take a quarterback unless it's a stud, because you got 3 young guys here that all are showing promise that you need to develop. You know?
I think if you really fix the defense, you could get away with Emory Williams, because he's very accurate. He's not.
No,
stupid.
I love
smart kid. He reminds me of Dorsey. Smart.
I agree, but you got to surround them with really good
players. Still have to look, right? You have to look.
I love Emory Williams. I'm actually in the Emory Williams camp.
Me too.
The problem is, if Emory Williams doesn't win you 10 games next year, the fans are going to crucify Mario. That's the problem. So,
well, if you go out and get a great quarterback and they don't win 10, he's going to get crucified. But you got to fix the defense. He's got to.
You're right. And the question becomes, and this is kind of along the lines of BK, you're going into year 4 now. Can you afford to go fire your defensive coordinator again for the second time?
I don't think you worry about that. I really don't.
You don't worry about it?
I don't think so. I think if you got to do it, you got to do it.
Right.
And when you're looking at a year like this, I don't know how you recover from this. I don't know that you wave a magic wand and all of a sudden everything's better next year. And I don't know, man. Mario's got a tough decision there. And I like Lance Guidry, the human being.
Okay.
He's a very good dude.
I'd love to find out if they're already looking. Not that they'll ever tell it me or you, but I'd love to know if they are, because they should be.
Mario has the foundation behind him, where if he needs to do that, that's not a problem.
That was my next question, Gary.
Don't wait until January 8th to start looking.
My next question, Gary, was is the power structure at Miami willing to wait another couple of years to let this kind of reboot again? Because that's what it's going to be.
Listen, here's the thing. You just had a very exciting season. Okay, it was a lot of fun. It was very exciting. They screwed up a couple games here at the end, but the people that are funding this thing, I think, got out of it this year what they're looking to get out of it. I mean, think about this. You're asking people to donate millions of dollars to basically give their money away to players, and they don't even get to write it off. Okay, so they're essentially giving their money away, and obviously they can afford it. They're very wealthy people, and I'm not talking about the small donors to the Canes collection and stuff that's such a small percentage of the overall budget. I'm talking about the big money, the billionaires that are putting up, that are really putting up the real money for the program right now. I think they got enough out of it this year that they'll stay on the ship. I think the university, with the new president coming in, is 100% behind athletics.
Right. No question.
And the university itself is making a lot of money. So I don't think financial issues are are going to come into play here. I really don't. They just got to do a better job with the money, in my opinion. They got to do a better job of evaluating the players. I don't want to sound like a broken record because I already said this earlier in the show, but they need to do a better job of evaluating the players that they are recruiting and bringing into Coral Gables, so that the roster develops in the proper way. And right now, the roster is a little bit, with all the departures that they're going to have here right now and all the talent that's going to be exiting, is a little bit of a mess.
It's not lack of talent. It's a mess because it's inexperienced, man. I mean, it's just it's inexperienced, very inexperienced roster.
Very, and we and you, me, anybody has no clue which of those kids is going to develop into real players.
Yeah, but you know what, Gary? Let's say they target X number of players and they're all really good. That still doesn't mean we're going to get them, because now we're dealing with NIL, which to me is a major negative in Mario Cristobal's ability to recruit top-end talent.
It is.
Rocky?
His ability as a recruiter has been compromised by the number of players out there that are just up for sale. I mean, it's human. It's literally like human trafficking in some case. Like they are up for sale in the majority of these cases, and that negates Mario the recruiter.
That negates his strength. Right.
Gary, you said it earlier. You said, there's a budget for these kids and they're not going to budge. If that's the case, in the bigger battles, we're going to get crushed.
Yes.
No, but you can't. You have to.
I get it. You can't compromise.
You can't get into bidding wars. And let me tell you something. And if you're recruiting a kid and his family, because you're recruiting the whole package, okay, you got to vet this situation better. Like, you can't be sitting here 2 days before signing day and having 2 or 3 of your commits playing games, trying to hold you up for more money, leveraging you against other schools. Like you can't do business like that. And you have to.
But they are.
But they are.
And their handlers are.
You can't. They've been spending their whole time the last few days. Now they're trying to flip some kids too, but it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. You have to vet out the character of people that you're dealing with. Like, who are their agents that these families are reaching out to? What are they like? What are they going to be the type that's going to pull this at the end and things like that? I mean, then you have kids, like the majority of the class, 85% of the class is going to sign tomorrow, and everything's going to be business as usual. The problem is that you got to eliminate the mistakes, because that's what derails you. And you can't get into bidding wars the last few days of recruiting. If you have an elite player like a Cam Ward, you're already going to be paying him a lot. There's not going to be a bidding war. Okay. There was no bidding war for Cam Ward. Okay. And
there's not going to be for a quarterback, because he's the most important position on the field. Even if you go get a stud, this year, there's not going to be a bidding war.
But the guy that you're going to give an NIL deal, and I'll just throw out $200,000. Let's say you said you like a kid, you're going to give him $200,000 a year, and that's his deal. And then he's going to come to you 2 days before signing, and they say, "Oh, well, Florida offered me $300." Come on, man. You can't. How are you supposed to operate in that world? I mean,
well, everybody's operating under the same terms and conditions, Gary. So you got to make a decision. Which of these 8 or 10 or 12 or 15 guys do we absolutely have to have?
Do I have to have?
And which ones, if we can't get to them, we'll move on to the next.
100%.
Like a draft board, you've got to be able to pick and choose
100%.
who you're going to negotiate with and who you're going to say goodbye.
Yeah, and that's why they told Tim Merritt to kick rocks today.
Right, right.
He's trying to leverage Tennessee maybe having interest in getting more NIL money. And they said they just told him to get lost. Now,
right.
Hilton Stubbs, they tried to hang in there, but he was a very important recruit to the staff. But
in retrospect, maybe they're better off without him, based on
100%. That's addition by subtraction. Those kind of kids. Look at Cormani McClain. Those kind of kids don't like 1 time out of 10 do any of those kind of kids really make it, because they don't have the character. They don't have the the intangibles that are going to help them be great players.
For me, it's a balancing act, because on one hand, you really do have to hit the portal hard for the defense. And Gary, a QB is not going to be a bidding war in the portal, but a cornerback is, a safety is. It's going to be.
But
it's just how it is.
But if there's a great quarterback that wants to come to Miami, I don't think they'll say no. I don't think they can say no. But they will probably lose Emory Williams over it.
Well, what I was going to say about the balancing act, you got to hit the portal hard, but at the same time, you can't lose 20 kids that you just recruited and fall into this trap that Florida State fell into. We cannot fall into that.
There will be some guys
on portal classes.
There will be some guys on this team, Rocky. There will be some guys on this team that do go to the portal.
No, I agree, but I'm talking about you got guys that's going to go to the portal, right? And then you got guys that you're counting on for the future. You can't lose those guys from those recruiting classes, because you might bring in a more experienced, D tackle, for example. You got Armando Blunt and Justin Scott. You can't lose those guys to the portal because you bring in seniors right now. You got to tell them, look, you're going to be in the rotation. You got to bring in, you can't lose a Damari Brown or an OJ Frederica or Ryan Mack, because I think Ryan Mack's going to be a good player. For older kids that you're going to bring in, and you say, look, it's a tight.
No argument, man.
They may take their lumps next year, you guys. They may.
They're definitely.
But they can't. They can't, for the reason Rocky just said. You can't take it. There's big time pressure in the next.
I understand that.
In the next 30 to 45 days, big pressure to hit the portal like it's never been hit before.
The budget better nail the portal big time.
They better nail the portal, you guys, on the defensive side of the ball.
Correct.
That's what they really got to do. They have enough firepower.
Casey
they need a couple. They're going to need a couple receivers too.
I'm not saying they don't, but they need these defensive guys badly.
Yes.
I don't know which receivers. Horton's good.
They can go for both. All right, Rock, you got anything else for us?
Yeah, I came on with my camera tonight, and you didn't get me on any earlier. You lied to me, Gary.
Oh, sorry about that, man. Yeah, it's been a crazy show. There's just so much going on, man. And, sorry about that. But thank you for using your camera.
Appreciate you guys getting me on and letting me say my piece. And Bruce,
no sweat, man.
No, you're making great points. I love having you on. It was great.
Yeah, next time. All right, Rock. Have a great night. Let's go to K-Mac. K-Mac, you are on CaneSport Live. How you doing, man?
Hey, doing okay, Gary. How's it going, Bruce?
I'm doing good. Well, not really, but
yeah, same here, man. It's been a rough day. It's not what I didn't expect though. I actually wrote in Gary's war room last week after the game. Told everybody, hey, the only way we get in, it's going to be actually on Cam's star power in our offense. Does the committee think that we have, that we're marketable enough that guys want to watch us on the tube? And I pretty much knew that's where it was going. It was going to be a fight. I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of past it. The only part that I'm upset about, I'll be honest with you, more than anything, is actually that it's not South Carolina instead of Alabama. I think South Carolina has a stronger resume in terms of.
Yeah, they had a tough schedule.
They did, in terms of making the case. I thought they should have been in there instead. And now with it the way it is now, I really hope Clemson wins this week, so that way they can knock Alabama out of there. That'll take that 11th spot and get them out of the way. It's another team that they didn't expect to be there, so I think that 11th spot would be taken up by a 2-loss SMU. I think SMU would end up taking that spot probably if they did. But anyway,
I've heard a couple of people say that already tonight, K-Mac, that's what they want to have happen.
Hey, well, a lot of stuff to tackle, man. I am going to go to the Syracuse game really quick. I actually remember speaking to you guys 3 weeks ago, and I had said this, and I meant it then, and I think it showed its face. I think we needed. I said our game plan was going to have to change, man. We needed to go 55-45 in favor of the run. Mm-hmm. The offense can score points, but we had to. Our best defense was going to be a controlled game on offense to take more time off the clock and prevent Syracuse, and it takes them out of a rhythm. Any offense, when they're on the sideline for a long period of time, which is what one of the things I think happened, Gary, was when Syracuse started scoring, is I think it started taking Miami out of that rhythm. They're sitting over on the sideline now 4 or 5, 6 minutes waiting to get back on the field, and you kind of lose that rhythm that you're in. And so I think that was one of the things.
Yeah, that's what happened to us against Georgia Tech. They held the ball for 18 plays, 16 plays.
And it's tough to get that rhythm back. And I know I was one of the ones that disagreed with Mr. Ferman on that blaming the offense. And the only reason why I say I don't blame the offense, you score 38 points. You score 38 points. You're just telling your defense, we just don't need, you just can't give up 39. I don't know how I don't know how you can ask a defense any more than that. Like, guys, we're putting up 38 points, regardless if we got 21 in the first quarter. I don't care if we got 35 in the first quarter. The point is you scored 38 points. All you need your defense to do is to hold them to 37. So as me looking at it from that standpoint, I'm just like, did the offense not capitalize and could have scored more? Of course. But that's in the same token, you can't think that your offense is going to score every time they get the ball. There's going to be those moments when it's just not there. And to think that they got to score 50 every game to win, that's putting too much on your offense. And that's not fair. That's not complimentary football. That is not.
Well, we also never expect Restrepo to put the ball on the floor like he did.
Absolutely.
In pretty damn good field position. And that holding call against Rivers in plain English, bullshit. That was a bullshit call.
That was a terrible.
It was not holding. Not even close.
Right.
And that cost us.
And actually, so with that being said, the main reason why I'm not mad about not making the playoff is, I think Gary alluded to it, Matt. So we had it in our own hands.
Yeah.
It was ours control. We controlled everything that we needed to do to make it to the playoff. We shouldn't have to put anything in anybody's hands for a committee to decide where we should go and all. We had control in our own.
Yeah, that's why there's
we were up 21-0, no less.
There's no beefs. I mean, I know everyone's upset. I'm upset. Right. Everyone's upset. I would have loved to see them play Notre Dame in the playoffs, whatever. But like, there's you have no ground to stand on.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be one of those things that we just have to live on. Now to say, hey, like you said, we want to possibility winning 11 games. We still got a bowl game coming up. It's going to be a good bowl game. Of course, we need to play it. We need that money. We need that revenue from those games. We got to get some of that, recoup some of that money. So let's not be silly and think we're not going to go to bowl games or whoever we got to play. I don't care if
they're going to get a good bowl game. They're going to probably go to Orlando, possibly on the 28th of December. If not there, they'll go to the Gator Bowl on January 2nd. They're going to go to one of those two games. They're going to get a good bowl game. And you got to turn a negative into a positive. Like, use it as an opportunity. The veteran guys that are going to go to the draft and they're not going to play. You're not going to see Cam Ward in a Miami uniform again, almost definitely. You're going to see Emory Williams playing with you're going to get to play all the young guys, Nycar, JoJo Trader, all the young guys on defense, Armando Blunt, Justin Scott. Like, you have an opportunity to play all these guys, give them experience, and see what they can do and where they're at.
Absolutely, looking forward to it. Actually, I am pretty excited about it.
I am too. I feel the same way, K-Mac. I want to see Popo play, and I want to see Pruitt play because he plays. When he's been in, he's making plays.
He make plays.
He's around the ball. That's for sure.
Yep.
I don't know who's going to be in our secondary.
You're going to have a couple weeks to get them ready. You're going to have 14, 15 practices to get them ready. And it's like a spring practice, really. And then let them go out there and let's see what they can do. And that gives you a head start to the real spring practice.
Absolutely. Jumping to the SEC, ACC thing, I'm not going to keep beating it ahead. Gary, I think you and I both know we agreed. I got on Matt last week about it. I'm just tired of this whole SEC bias, and I'm sick of you got to get these guys in, and no, you don't. But so here's my thing. So now I have to look at Matt and say to Matt for next year, we got a strong schedule next year now. So Matt, we get 4 games. We can lose 4 games next year, but they're to strong teams. I'm expecting us to be able to make the playoff with that whole thing. Hey, we had a super strong schedule against great teams. We should be able to get in with 4 losses. To me, they're setting the precedence this year with this three loss crap. They're setting the precedence. Now we got a strong schedule next year. Now we go 8-4, we go 9-3. I'm expecting to be in the 12-team playoff next year.
Well, you better check yourself, K-Mac, because Alabama is the 3-loss team that got in. We're not talking about Cal. We're not talking about Texas Christian or Texas Tech. We're talking about Alabama. They could go to have 3 losses, which is ridiculous.
But it's crazy.
It's
They're
ridiculous.
cheapening what is to me a great thing for college football. Like
Yes.
this college football playoff is the best. Why are you cheapening it by putting 3 loss teams in? Why are you thinking you got to have 4? Maybe it could end up being, more than that, but probably 4 SEC teams. I mean, why?
Which is one of the reasons why I actually want Clemson to win now, because I would like to see 2 ACC teams, because all it's doing, Clemson losing, all it's done is opening up that door to say, yep, let's go ahead and get those guys in, because that's what people want. I'm sick of the bias, man.
I wonder what would happen if SMU beats Clemson, which removes them from any conversation, and Texas blows out Georgia. I wonder if Georgia would drop out of the top 12.
Another 3-loss team, exactly, and it would have to be a blowout, because any close game, they're not budging.
Any close game, they're going to let them in with 3 losses
correct.
too.
They're going to get with 3 losses as well. So think about that. All the SEC, you'll have
two SEC teams with 3 losses in the 12-team playoff.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
That's really crazy. Lance Guidry, I know he's been the talk all night. I'm always careful when I'm talking about people in their employment, right? But this is a brutal game. It's what have you done for me lately game. We all know that. These guys make very, very good money. I do have my personal opinion. I won't share what that personal opinion is, just out of respect for him. I know he probably won't see this and doesn't care anything about who I am. All I will say
your
is this.
personal opinion, K-Mac, has got to be you want him fired, because if you wanted him to stay, you just blurt it out and say I want him to stay.
So speaking without speaking, but kind of hitting on what Rocky said, and actually it kind of falls right in line with what I was thinking was, I agree 100%, and I was going to make that point that the safeties is where Guidry runs his defense through. But he knew what he had all year. He knew the communication issues all year. And his job is to make the proper adjustment. Either you get the personnel you're supposed to have, you go to your head coach, you go to your boss. Just like at my job, my boss tells me, I'm a servant of you. You tell me what you need, I have to get it for you. If you can't perform your job because I'm not getting your job, who do I blame? I have to blame myself then. If Guidry knows he needed a safety to run his defense through, you tell Mario from day one, we got to get the best. We lost our 2 best guys.
Are you talking about before the season? Because when the season started, who was he going to turn to?
Well, naturally before, and what I'm saying is my point is
you got Mish Powell. You're thinking, okay, this guy started.
You got Mish Powell. You thought you had it made. And then they said he wasn't going to be a safety. He was going to be a nickel.
He probably didn't realize how slow he was until.
He can't cover. He's too slow.
But my point is, once he saw he had what he had,
right,
his job now is to make the adjustment. I can't get what I'm supposed to, but I have to find a way to supplement that. Whatever way that was, I don't.
So what would you have done? More zone?
I say it to the end of the day. We didn't. I said it before the Syracuse game. We don't have the horses to run with these guys man to man. You got to. The only way you cover that weakness up is zone it. Keep things in front of you. Make plays on the ball. Tackle. Because now you have the more plays, you hate 10 play drives, but I'll tell you what, that's 10 opportunities for an interception, that's 10 opportunities for a fumble, that's 10 opportunities for all kinds of things, penalties, put them behind
10 opportunities for a sack if they actually were getting in the backfield.
Give your guys a chance. But when you're going down, you score 3 and 4 plays, I mean, that's terrible. It just looked bad.
And the guys were wide open. These guys were not draped all over them. They were wide open.
And even when the ones that they were, just not enough
make the
talent, man. They're just not. Our guys weren't talented enough, and we knew that. Everyone knew that. You have to make the adjustments. To me, zone was the only adjustment that we can make. Slow the game down. Again, with 21-point lead, keep the zone, slow the game down. Make them do. So what? It's a 10-play drive. That means 5, 6, 7 minutes come off the clock.
Hey, that's what Georgia Tech did to us last year. They dared Van Dyke to throw, and he threw right into double coverage in that game. They slowed the game down because they knew they had a shot.
Yep,
that's what they did to us, and they did it again this year. The 2 deep safeties.
Got to make adjustments. Cap, NIL, Gary, great point earlier when you were speaking to Matt. I love the point you made about the situation with Stubbs. We don't need to get into bidding wars. You have your set budget.
For high school kids? No.
Oh, absolutely. You have your budget. You know what you're going to spend. Florida has all this extra money because, like you said, they didn't do that buyout for whatever his name is over there.
They didn't buy out Napier.
They
They
didn't,
decided to put their money into NIL.
Yes.
And they've thrown an extra few $1 million at
all over
their
the place.
problems. Yeah,
they're splurging. But here's the thing that I love about it: if it doesn't work, you just got a bunch of money all over the place. Napier looked good. The team looked good. I'll give them that. Towards the end of the year, for whatever reason,
they got better.
They got better.
We didn't get better.
Absolutely, but I don't know if it's going to be sustainable. But the point is, we don't need to stoop to that level. Stay level-headed. Work with what you got. Stick to your guns, because once you get into that whole point, if he's not a superstar that you know is going to be a game changer, you don't get into bidding wars. Guys like Stubbs, would we like to have him? Absolutely. Is he a DJ Pickett? No. And we're not going to do that. Especially when you talk about high school kids, we have no idea what you're going to do.
Yeah, you'll reach for DJ Pickett a little bit, but he wants to go to. If he wants to go to LSU, he wants to go to LSU. Like he can't do anything about it.
That place is going to blow up next year because
in
that coach
is already blowing up.
Right, he's got some serious mental health issues. I'm saying it because I know for a fact.
Yeah, look at quarterback this
week. Already blowing up. Guys are going in the portal like every 5 minutes from LSU,
but not Pickett.
Yeah, so we'll see where that goes. I'm thinking, of course, portal versus recruiting. We got to hit the portal. It's unfortunate. Hopefully, recruiting and keep doing what it's going to do. But I think at this point, to sustain, to at least have a solid season next year, can we repeat the 10 wins? Of course, everybody would like to, or more. But to me, I don't think we can go any less than 8 or 9. We have to stay relevant.
Let's see who's on the team first, K-Mac. We got to see who's on the team first.
Yeah.
And who out of these young kids in the last 2 recruiting classes really step up? We have to see that too.
Well, if we're going to hit the portal, as Gary's thinking we are, you're talking about getting 10 starters out of that. To me, you got to hope that if you're hitting it that hard, you have to expect.
I don't think they have a choice. I really don't. All right, K-Mac, let me let you run, man. Thank you for being part of the show tonight.
Yes, sir. You guys have a good night, man.
You got it, man. Thank you for being part of it. All right, Kane, I see you, man. Where you been?
Were you in the hospital?
Man, I ain't got I'm home. I'm off of work. I was up there earlier. Man, fuck all the bull. I'm tired of it. Damn the SEC, damn the NCAA, damn all of it. They're a bunch of crooks. They robbed, they ain't shit. I don't care if you do high school, elementary, rec ball. If you got the better record, you're in. If you got the worst record, you're out. Alabama's a fraud. Ferman a fraud. Miami ain't a fraud. We just had a terrible ass defense. I'm mad. I'm not mad with Restrepo fumble. I ain't mad what George did. Hell, you're up 21. Damn it, win the motherfucking game. We didn't. We've been saying the defense. I'm not mad with nobody but the defense. I ain't even mad with Gentry. Everybody want to point Gentry. But damn, all year y'all been saying we ain't got nothing back there. Our defense is slow. Where's the speed at? I watched Michigan. Oh, my boy, they were putting it on Ohio ass. They couldn't go nowhere. Our defense running behind them, chasing people, lost in space. What we going to do, truth teller? I listen to you when you're on Donald. What the hell we going to do? Tell the truth.
Well, look, I think he's got to go. That's just my opinion.
Right.
And I think they got it. They've got to get that defensive line because that's the spring. When he talks about his safeties, you got to have a D line. All our great teams, not our offensive line, our defensive lines were dominant.
Yes, sir, they were.
From Jerome all the way up to Will Fork in the 2001 team. Those teams were dominant. Even the backups. Do you realize that Jimmy Jones was a 3rd-round pick of the Dallas Cowboys? He was a backup.
Yes, sir.
Backups get picked in the 3rd round. None.
Yes, sir. I agree. But I thought the D-line was supposed to be the strength. That shit fell off. As soon as ACC play went, it seemed like everybody went.
Bain's injury didn't help.
No, that didn't help. I agree. That didn't help.
Barron's dropped from wherever he was. Everybody's saying 1st-round pick to where he wound up in the tank. That didn't help.
That didn't help either. Nope, that's true. All I can say is hell.
Instead of on the outside, that didn't help. No, seriously, I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
That didn't help. And I didn't like the way their schemes were. I didn't like all that stunting and all that crap. I listen, you guys know I talked to Caesar and he's buddies with Sapp, and Sapp tells us, what are they doing? Get up the field. The ball gets snapped, get your ass in the backfield and create havoc in the backfield. No,
that's true.
You shouldn't have 3 minutes to fake a handoff here and fake a handoff. That's what they were doing. And our defensive linemen, sometimes three went to the left, one to the right. So if you're the quarterback and you want to escape, there's a big gap in there. That's where you run. You go up the field and you destroy anything in front of you. And that frees up our linebackers to make plays. That's why that's why Michael Barrow, and that's why Jesse was great and Darren Smith was great, because the guys in front of him gave them the opportunity to make plays. Our linebackers were getting chipped constantly. How many? And Mawano, oh my God, I don't know whether he was guessing, but he was taking bad angles. He missed tackles. He had guys wrapped and he lost them. The whole thing was horrible. And again, as I said before, when you practice against this offense for 12 weeks plus fall practice, how do you not get better? What did the coaches look at during the weeks of practice that made them think they could stop people? I don't know.
It's unbelievable. Because in the second half, when
I'm telling you, man, there were days where the defense dominated practice.
Yeah, they did.
That's what you said, Gary. That's what you said.
You're rotating. You're going. You're playing different combos. It's not the same as getting ready for a real game.
I knew it was going to be a shootout because when I looked and saw your boy McCoy was right there over Cam and Pat, and I said, man, we got something on our hands. But when we was up 21, I was at the job saying, we got to keep scoring. We got to keep scoring. And when the second half came and them jokers took 3 plays, I said, oh,
yeah,
shit.
They scored right away, right out of the locker room.
And then we came right back. Probably didn't run no time off the clock. Took about 5 plays and scored. They came right back and scored. Yep. We came right back and scored. And then, not blaming them for the fumble. That ain't like Strepo to fumble 2 weeks in a row. I don't recall him fumbling maybe about once or twice, maybe 5 times in his career.
Insane. Yeah, it's crazy.
And I mean, and not only that, the ball pops up in the air, and the lucky son of a gets it and goes the other way.
Yep.
So, hey, we all heard as fans. I looked at you this morning, Gary. I had to turn it off. You look so sick. I thought somebody took all your whole life. I said, damn, Gary look bad. It's gonna be all right, fellas. One way or another, it's gotta be all right.
When everybody gets this upset, it's very difficult. I mean, you want everybody to be happy.
So, what we gonna finish in recruiting? I'm gonna ask you that. I ain't even gonna look tomorrow. I'll just wait till the shit is over.
They lost. They're not getting any of the guys they were trying to flip, I don't think, and they lost the call. It was a bad day today.
Don't lose any from today until tomorrow morning. That's what.
Right. Yeah. Today was not a great day. You know what? They will regroup, and the portal is going to have a lot of talent in it, I believe. And they have to identify it, and they have to recruit it, and they have to hit on it. And I think like I said, I think they need 10 starters.
Hey, I ain't mad. That 10 starters on the defense, right?
Most of them on the defense.
Yeah, will be on the defense. Yeah, and a lot in the secondary. That's for sure.
Other than OJ Fred,
this guy K Mills asked me, "Why am I saying that you look like you were in the hospital?" Well, because you got a white shirt on, you have a white back, laying on the bed. So
I'm laying in the bed, man. I had to call back because I couldn't get on. There was so many people that said, "Come back, come back, come back." I said, "Well, hell, I'll try late." But hey, man, we're gonna be all right. Y'all have a good one. Hey, truth teller. Keep being truthful, Gary. Come on, put a smile, man. Fuck it. It's over, man.
I'm smiling. I'm happy.
Y'all take care. Later.
All right, be good. Be good. Have a good night. All right, Cane's Cat Heat. We'll get to you in a minute. Bruce, let me jump through some of these comments real quick because people have been burning it up all night. J. Cruz says that if Mario had fired Guidry weeks ago, does Miami save its recruiting class? The guys that defected had nothing to do with Guidry. It had to do with them getting better NIL deals or just wanting to be somewhere else. Like in the case of Gavin Nix, he wanted to go to Oregon for some crazy reason. Yeah. His family wanted him to stay here. Maybe he just wanted to get away from home. I don't know, but and obviously
they're number one in the country. Well, who wouldn't want to go there?
Yeah, they're number one in the country, and they have the best NIL budget in the country. Yep. So it's like, if you want to go there, you go there. Spencer, like you're absolutely right, man. It's been rough when you put it in these terms: losing to Georgia Tech, losing to Syracuse, losing a couple of recruits, now losing out on the college football playoff. How does it happen? It happens when you're just not good enough.
It happens when you blow a 21-0 lead. That's how it happens. You shouldn't be doing these things.
Yeah, Jordan Roebuck likes a defensive tackle from Kentucky that went into the portal. There's going to be a lot of that, J. Rowe. A lot of really good players going in the portal because they want to see what their value is. and if they can get paid. And
But doesn't that create a bidding war, Gary? We're going to still have to be in one no matter what. You can't just say, here's your money, take it or leave it. They're going to wind up being in bidding wars. That's now become the norm in the offseason. Bidding wars.
Hurricane Danny thinks Lance Guidry is getting too much blame. I mean, listen, I don't think he's a scapegoat. I mean, we went through it earlier in the show. Like, the defensive side of the ball was not good at any level, not recruiting, not player development, and certainly not on game day. I mean, and he's the one that's in charge of the defense. Like, that's part of the turf. And I don't know whether Mario will renew him or not renew him, but you know, that is what comes with the territory. Like, you know, Christopher Wright says, shaking my damn head, please. There's no scapegoat.
It's a fact.
It's an absolute fact. What is this? What are you talking about, Conato? I look like I ate a stone crab from 2001. Come on, man. Come on, man. That's not cool. That is not cool at all. Let's see what this one is. Yeah, there's a lot of truth to this one, Benzo. Ooh, I like the Howard Schnellenberger picture. I think they may have gotten a little caught up with themselves when they were undefeated. They were, listen, it was exciting this year with Cam Ward, the offense, and everything that came with it. And you could see young kids getting caught up on it, and maybe forgot what it takes to win. You know, I didn't like the effort, Bruce, that I saw on Saturday from the defense at all.
Me neither. Me neither.
Whatever. It was one thing to play bad, but I mean, I didn't like the effort that we saw in that game. I think they're going to be kicking themselves quite a bit when they watch the film.
It sounds to me like being up 21-0. They just said, this is a slaughter. We're going to just walk out on the field and they're going to lay down because we can't lose. But you know what's become popular now? Even in the NFL, these guys are doing this stuff with like the Cam Ward thing. Everybody's doing it. I know after the game the other day, the Syracuse kids were doing it.
DP Buck, he does this, and Mario didn't hire a proven defense coordinator. You know, it's not so easy. It just, it's like easy for us out here to say, hey, hire this proven coach, but there's not a lot of them, and everybody wants the ones that do exist. And, it's not so easy just saying, go do it. Sometimes you got to find a guy that maybe is at that level that nobody knows about. And Mario thought that's what he was doing with Lance Guidry. And he had gone
against. And he said at the beginning of the season, hey, I got both coordinators back for the second year in a row. He was all excited about that, but it didn't pan out. It's hard to tell how good Dawson really is when you have a kid like Ward. It really is hard to tell. Last year they were hamstrung with Van Dyke. They couldn't do much about it. They had nobody to come in and really take his place. But when they did put in Emory Williams, he did beat Clemson. As ugly as that game was, he did win, and he could have beaten Florida State if he didn't get hurt. He had the ball on the move, down a touchdown.
J. Crew wants to know when they cut the dead weight. They're going to have to make, I think, 10, 15. I haven't done the exact math yet, but I'm guessing ballpark 15 cuts.
Wow.
They're going to have to cut a lot of guys.
Is that doesn't include, or does it include guys that are bolting on their own without being told to get out of here?
Well, they would include that.
Okay.
But I got to do the math on the roster. I haven't gotten around to doing that yet. But they're going to have to make a lot of cuts. No doubt about it. All right. Dwayne Wilburn, he doesn't like my comment I made earlier in the show about South Florida. I mean, listen, I am a Dade County guy. I began my career in journalism covering high school football in Dade County. It's a while ago, unfortunately. But
you're a Broward boy now.
I also covered high school football in Broward in my career.
Right.
I have been around high school football down here for a very long time. This area is not producing the same depth of talent and the same high level talent that it traditionally used to in the past.
Isn't it cyclical? Or now Georgia?
I don't know that it is. And I can't remember who it was that made the comment about a lot of people moving to Georgia. Georgia has gotten better.
Yes.
in this time, and maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know, but it's not the same. And I know that we probably have some Dayton Broward coaches out here watching the show tonight. Don't get mad at me, please. I'm just being honest. I mean, it's not the same. There aren't enough elite players in Dayton Broward, and then you end up taking guys to appease people that don't belong on the roster, and they're just going to get sent to the portal in a year or two anyway. It's a vicious circle. And the other factor is when you do have them, when that Jeremiah Smith does pop, you got to get them, man. And they almost did last year. They almost did. They tried their butts off to get him, but you got to get him. I'm not going to say the same thing about say like a kid like Ben Hanks this year, because he's a legacy kid to Florida. His dad played at Florida. You're probably not going to win that one, but
I know they've got to identify these kids much earlier.
Yeah, well, that's what Jay Dirty here is saying. He sees players from South Florida every year balling at other schools who Miami didn't even recruit.
I know Bluestein is always talking about that. Always.
That's evaluation, man.
Yep. He knows these kids when they come out of the mothers, when they're in the hospital, when they're born. He's there when they're putting the father's name on the birth certificate and putting the feet, and making an imprint on a birth certificate. That's Bluestein's there. He already knows these guys.
Now this one's kind of funny from Hurricane Grind Mode. He wants to bring Swayze back, to bring the speed back to the team. Swayze was great, no argument, but Mish Powell, I don't care whether it's Aaron Feld doing the strength program or Andrew Swayze doing the strength program. He's not getting fast, okay? Right. So you're either fast or you're not fast. Now, I understand you could take a kid from 4.6 to 4.5 and that kind of thing, no argument. But this is way beyond bringing Swayze back. No doubt about it. Let's see here. Rhett Lashley killing it at SMU. He absolutely is. J. Crew wants to know about special teams. They got to pass because they didn't have to do much at Syracuse. But you're absolutely right, J. Crew. They, what
was the longest punt return we had all year?
I don't remember.
10 yards, 15 yards?
Maybe. Our return game is non-existent.
Yep.
Non-existent.
Right. And I talked to Tremaine Mack twice during the season, and he can't understand why they can't even come close to blocking a punt. A field goal is a little different, but a punt, you should be able to get in there.
I want to comment on this one, Bruce. He says, Mario's not great at picking the right coaching staff. Mario, when he's hiring coaches, is so ridiculously thorough and puts enormous effort into it. The thing is, no different in coaching than other professions. Not everybody wants to work as hard as Mario expects his coaches to work. Yep. And he's got a reputation now because he's been around for a while. And it's not so easy for him to hire coaches because they don't, not everybody wants to work hard. I mean,
they want to work hard, but not the ridiculousness the way he probably sleeps 2 hours a day.
But he believes that that's what it takes. And he's the head coach. And if you're not willing to work at the level that he wants you to work at, then you shouldn't take a job with Mario. But, that combined with the fact that everybody wants the best coaches, and it's not just, you can't just snap your fingers.
Mm-hmm. But I think you hit something before. You say they need some more people on the staff that are really like professional player development and player evaluators. And that's where Butch was great. He was great at that. And that's lacking. I don't know who else was on Butch's staff that helped him with this, but I think Mario needs some more help. I don't know who's in the office. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but this portal thing is extremely important. They cannot have a defense like they had this year next year. They've got to make their defense a threat in any game. They can't play like this.
Would Lance Guidry or Shannon Dawson get hired at Georgia, Alabama, or Ohio State?
Never in 1 million years. Okay.
And Jordan Roebuck is right.
Yep. But when you flip it around, you see who Jimmy had and Dennis had and even Butch had. These guys wound up in the NFL, not just head coaches.
We didn't realize how good those staffs were at the time.
Excuse me?
we didn't realize how good those staffs were.
Oh no, we didn't realize
when
it.
we had them. We took it for granted. But even
because
like
those guys were our
Campo,
friends. We go down and just to the heck and talk to them all. They were like our pals.
Even when Dave Campo was a specialty, was the DB coach here. Who the hell ever would have thought he would rise to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys? Like crazy stuff, Tommy Tuberville was a GA here and went on to be a head coach for many, many years at Auburn and Cincinnati. And now he's a damn senator.
Yeah.
But you can go on and on. Dave Wanstead became an NFL head coach. Butch Davis became an NFL head coach. I don't know that anybody is going to become an NFL head coach that's on staff right now. And so, listen, anybody who wants to make that point, is making a legitimate point. It's something that Mario has to think about without question. All right. So yes, this is a bad look. Okay. These guys go to SMU and they are great players at SMU. I can tell you both of those guys were problems here. Okay. They were creating a lot, different problems within the program. They had to let them go. Maybe they went to SMU, got their act together, and were used a little differently, more to their benefit and all that.
Gary Hunt played a lot, and Rashad played great this year.
Yeah, but Hunt played a lot of football here.
Yeah, he did.
There were just problems with with stuff he was doing off the field, and
on the field too. He was.
He wasn't an all ACC player on the field either. For sure.
Right. But he's great now.
Yeah,
he's dangerous. He creates problems.
Man, we got a lot of comments tonight. I'm trying to work through them, guys.
I know, there's a million of them.
I'm not like beyond a million. I mean, I'm just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, trying to pick the best ones. What is this? Let's see. With our defense, we would get embarrassed. You know what? Think about this. If they get in the playoff, you're talking about playing in the first round at Notre Dame. At Notre Dame in 20 degrees, possible snow. I mean, our probability of winning that game would have been whatever tense you want to use.
Wouldn't it be better for the program to be in the damn thing the first time we made the playoffs? I think that overrides this getting blown out by Notre Dame business.
I would have liked to be in it, doing it the right way. Getting to the ACC championship game, winning the ACC championship game, and getting a first-round bye.
All right. So let me ask you this. Do you think that we could have beaten SMU? I mean, I think we could, but they're playing at a very high level.
They're playing great, but we absolutely could come. We could compete with any.
Right.
It's just another ACC game like all the rest of them. All these teams are the same, Bruce. SMU had a pretty soft schedule, and the one or two close games they had, they won them. They didn't, they didn't have any that they really blew.
Who did they lose to? BYU?
BYU.
Yeah.
But, they had a close game. I think it was at Duke. And
wait, who else did they play that turned the ball? Was that them? Pitt Pitt turned it over like 5 or 6 times, and SMU won one of those games. They won because they made less mistakes, I guess.
Yeah. So, but like, listen, they had a great season. They're where they deserve to be. This is an interesting one.
Yes,
because he's right. Guidry does coach the safeties. Mm-hmm. He did handpick his secondary coach. How did they look so confused and disorganized all year? Brian Taylor doesn't get it. I don't get it. I don't think anybody gets that. It just makes no sense. I've never seen a secondary as confused as our secondary this year.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to do with communication, and a lot of it, I was told, had to do with just looking in the backfield and being caught off guard with play fakes and things like that. But that's no excuse. When you're playing at this level, you should know what's going on, and you should know how to communicate. I don't know how many times they rotated these guys. Maybe there was not a lot of communication because there was unfamiliarity with who's on the field with you. They had a lot of guys on this team for the first time. How could you play as a unit if most of these guys weren't here last year?
I got to put Diana Pennington on the screen because we love our female viewers. Listen, they had everything in the palm of their hand, and they lost 2 games, and they're getting what they deserve out of it. I mean, none of us like it, but they're not being treated unfairly. I mean, I don't think Alabama should have got in over them, but you have no leg to stand on when you lose the way they lost these games.
Well, there should have been a wake-up call losing to Georgia Tech. They had a bye. They beat Wake, and then they should have been so jacked up for Saturday's game. But that didn't look like it to me. But they were up 21-0. The offense went down the field like a hot knife through butter. 21 points. And I thought it's going to be a 50-10 score. Oh, here goes. Syracuse. This kid's he's gonna throw 5 interceptions. We're gonna kill these guys. But wow, they put the brakes on us and they turned it around. And that's a good coach.
I agree with Brian Taylor. We got burned way too much this year, taking our defensive ends and putting them in pass coverage.
Because we were playing a 4-2-5. That's why.
Yeah, I mean that was crazy. And Jeremiah 29-11. No, I'm not in any denial. Lance Guidry had a horrible year this year. The defense was atrocious at every level. Recruiting, player development, game day. Every one of those things on the defensive side of the ball was horrific this year. And he is the leader of the defensive side of the ball. He has to take the blame. Now, what does that mean going forward? I don't know. I have no idea what Mario is going to do.
Right.
But I am not in denial about anything. It was a horrible year on defense.
How many times have you seen in your 40-plus years covering these guys, about the same as me, although I don't cover them like you, some teams score 3, 4, 5 touchdowns in a row against us? I don't remember that happening at all in the last 40 years, even when we were bad, which we weren't that bad. But I don't remember this 35-10 deficit to Cal. Are you kidding me? I mean, what's the adjustment by our defensive coordinator when these things are happening?
And we came back and won. That's what's amazing. And it's funny, it's funny because people are on Mario about the kicking the field goal. Like, how many stops we had to get in the Cal game to come back from that deficit? Like this, it's not like the defense never got stops the whole year. Like, it's certainly not to the point where you start making stupid football decisions because, and stand on the sideline and say, my defense can't get a stop. I mean, they got to get a stop in that situation. If they don't get a stop, you're not winning the game. Yeah. And even if you scored and you don't get a stop, you're not winning the game. Right. So what the hell's the difference?
But I would have gone for the touchdown, and maybe you can get a pass interference in the end zone. You get 4 downs from the 2 or the 3. I wouldn't have kicked the field goal because I don't trust the defense. They couldn't stop anybody. They can't stop a nosebleed, let alone Syracuse's offense. So I would have gone for it.
All right.
The Samson go. I don't know.
I believe when he did his NIL deal, I believe, and this was back when John Ruiz was doing the NIL, I believe he got a multi-year guarantee. I think he's got at least one more year on his deal. And he's not getting anywhere close to what he's getting from Miami anywhere else.
Right.
So I don't know that he goes in the portal. I think they would like for him to go in the portal because they would probably like to, drop that money from the salary cap, so to speak. But if his contract goes to a 3rd year, which I believe it does, I don't know that for sure.
He's staying, and he needs to bust his behind in the offseason so he can get in that lineup because they're losing a couple of guys.
He looks the part. Like, he looks like a big time offensive lineman. I mean, he's got the body and everything. It just hasn't all come together for him for whatever reason. And
I don't know what his injury. He had the injury. He came back. Whether he was still suffering with the injury, I don't know. But yeah, he has not really gotten into the games at all. Very little. He was in last week, a couple of plays at the end, but. Wow, that's a shame, a 5-star. But look at the level of competition he played in high school. Not much. Where was he, up in Massachusetts?
Yeah. All right, I think I've covered a lot of these subjects. I'll keep scrolling, but let's go to Cane's Cat Heat 305. Looks like audio only. What you got, Cane's Cat?
Gary, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Gary, the question I have is, you're saying we need to go back in the portal. I mean, but when does it just become a never-ending cycle if we're just going to keep going in the portal and then just cutting our own players that we're recruiting? Because now, if we're going to cut 15 guys, we're going to end up cutting 15 guys that Mario recruited.
You don't have a choice. I mean, you know, you don't have a choice because you're losing so much talent from the top end of the roster that if you don't go in the portal and replace it with similar quality players, at least you're going to win 7 games next year. And then what? You know, I mean, you know, then everyone's sitting here saying fire Mario. Like, you know, they don't have a choice. They gotta go to the portal. They gotta hit it big. There's no other option.
So
Is this true? Did somebody just said that Chris Johnson hit the portal?
I wouldn't be surprised if I mean, he should hit the portal.
Yeah.
Now, Gary, the question
I mean, if Martinez is coming back, which we don't know yet, you got Martinez, Fletcher, and Lyle all ready for next year.
I think AJ Allen's going to be gone.
I think he'll go to the portal.
Great player too.
Yeah. You got the Pringle kid coming in who's going to be a good player. You still have Elijah Lofton that you got to start using in some way, shape, or form.
Well, Riley Williams coming back. He's going to be a great player.
Yeah. So, you know.
The other thing I have, Gary, is, well, if that's the case, then, well, I think at that point is, what do we do about the people that we're hiring? I mean, because the people that are evaluating these players, I mean, if they're not getting on the field, then why?
Biggest issue in the program, to my eye, Eric.
No, I truly agree. I truly think it is because, I mean, we got rid of Alonso. I don't know what his role was. I truly have no idea what his role was.
It never evolved the way it could have. For whatever reason, I don't understand what happened there.
I mean, he's the number 3 with the Patriots right now. Number 3.
I understand. And more than that, he knows every scout in football. Okay.
Exactly.
So, like, if you say to him, listen, I want you to head up a pro scouting department, and you give him the budget to go hire 4 freaking superstars in talent evaluation, and if they're making $100,000 for the Saints, pay them 150. If they're, you know, they're making $100,000 for the Patriots, pay them 150. Bring in 4 absolute studs who do nothing but sit in a freaking room every day and evaluate talent.
No, but it's not even evaluating them with film. I mean, you have your area scouts. I mean, what happened with area scouts? I mean, you got to invest in that type of foundation because, I mean, going into the portal and stuff like that, I mean, it's better to just invest that money into people that know the players, that can scout the players, that know what they're doing, than just throwing money away at players that aren't going to contribute.
It's the biggest problem in the program, in my opinion.
I mean, what is Dennis Smith's job? Is he the one that runs that department? I truly have no idea.
He's kind of like a GM type. Yeah, I mean, he probably has too much on his plate, to be honest with you. You know, I mean, listen, Mario's got to attack this because they're having way too many misses and way too many guys that aren't developing quick enough. Or
they're just not playing them. That's what
I don't see that. I don't think that there was anybody that didn't play that should have played. I really don't. Other than let me take that back. Elijah Lofton should have had a role this year, a bigger role.
He did have a role.
He should have had a bigger role. But in fairness, Eric, I'll tell you this. I'm saying this, but when they put him in there and they ran a play for him the other day, what happened? It was 0. He didn't turn around for the football.
Right.
So, I see the talent there, but if he's not ready to be a dude, there's nothing you can do about it.
He looks a little too heavy to me.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little. He doesn't have a burst.
But the kid's a beast. I mean,
he's a beast. I know. Yeah. He was a beast in fall camp.
Yeah.
I think for sure, besides the talent evaluating, for sure, the development. I mean, obviously, once you get the players, you obviously have to identify them. Having scouts is great, but you have to be able to develop the players. That's the next step.
Well, that's the second issue, yes.
And right now, I mean, you can say a lot of great things about Jason Taylor and Coach Joe, but right now our D-line is not developing. You can say, I mean, the only place that really is developing besides the O-line is maybe wide receiver and a guy like Horton, who's taking the next step. But besides that, and running backs. But I mean, the running backs, that's truly a position that is plug and play. You can put a freshman in there, and you saw what Jordan Lyle did. He can come in and explode. So, I mean, truly besides wide receiver and O-line, I don't see any type of development from any of our positions, which is kind of concerning.
Well, recognizing deficiencies, which they didn't do all year, and if they did recognize it, they probably just couldn't do anything about it. They don't have the talent. What guys on the defense, if you're the offensive coordinator, are you going to pinpoint and say, we got to keep this guy out of our backfield. We can't throw at this guy. We got to stay away from him. Nobody. There's nobody. There used to be all the time. Not anymore. There's nobody that scares you. Nobody.
And then Gary, I don't know if you will agree with this on my third issue with the team is I feel like you obviously you need the scouting, you need the developing, and then my issue now is I feel like teams are scouting us. They know our plays, they know what we're doing, and that's
everybody.
No, that's from everybody. That's everybody obviously transferring the information between teams. I feel like we don't have a good enough department where we're getting that same information from other teams, where we're getting that same info.
Yeah, but you look at game film. Some of these teams, they take the game film and they throw it in the garbage and they create other things to offset our strengths. And that's why they're making us look sick. They're not adjusting. But still, you have to look at their game film. And, you know, every time you hear the post game, we weren't prepared for that. They threw something new at us. Well, how many hours does it take to adjust? If that's what they're doing, and that's what Georgia Tech did, that's what Syracuse did, you make an adjustment on the fly, not making a statement in a post game. Gee, we didn't expect that. I mean, come on. Everybody does that. Everybody does it. Right, Gary?
Yeah. Brandon Rosenbaum's talking about that they've missed on a lot of players in the portal. Yeah, they have.
We definitely have.
And
I mean, I'm stuck
change.
on Matt's sentiment. I'm a full believer in Matt's sentiment. I've been with Matt for the last 2 years, but I feel a lot of people are now starting to get on Matt's train where we got to stop getting Jags and get free agents.
Mm-hmm.
But again, free agents cost a lot of money. That's what people don't realize.
They'll have money. They'll have a budget. They got to hit
a guy like the Humphreys kid. That's a free agent that you get instead of getting a guy like Deani Hill and Daryl Porter and Jadis Richards. The cost of 3 guys, they'll probably cost those 3 guys will cost up probably what Humphrey will cost in reality.
Mm-hmm. Well, somebody wants to know if Bain is too heavy, Gary. I don't know if he's too heavy, but he looks
too heavy to play defensive end.
Yes,
he was totally ineffective for most of the season.
Right. I mean, if you're going to look like that, you got to play inside.
100%.
And collapse that pocket and not have to worry about coming off the edge.
He's strong as hell. He's got the skill set to be a great defensive tackle.
Yep.
And what, you think it was just an injury with him, Gary?
No, I think
not developing.
I think he's just growing. He's he's an 18-year-old kid. He's growing. And I mean, he needs to keep getting bigger. I mean, he's, and he just needs to go inside, and I think he'll be fine.
Right. He's not going to get any taller. He is what he is. He's not that tall.
Yeah, he's not that tall.
He's very thick in his lower body.
Very thick, very strong.
Very strong, yes. Great hands, good burst. He should be in the inside.
Gary, the last thing I wanted to bring up is, truthfully, what is your take on what's happening with the basketball program? I was at the game today. It was pretty sad, honestly.
I think they can't figure, like, they thought they were going to be pretty good when they were practicing against themselves, and I think they got hit by a freight train when they went up to Charleston, and now they're grasping. I mean, listen, you got a 5-star kid that doesn't play very much.
He doesn't play at all.
That's absurd. Like, he needed to be developed and be a starter, I think, at the 1 from the beginning of the season. Nigel Pack is not a point guard. He keeps playing point guard. They blew last season with Trim trying to play point guard. They come back this season, he's trying to play point guard again. Like, I mean, they do have guys that can shoot the basketball. Larinaga's got to figure it out. Obviously, the season's really starting to slip away, although they haven't really started ACC play. But it's pretty ugly right now.
It's very ugly, honestly. It's very ugly.
But I think you didn't see it coming, because when they were practicing against themselves, they looked pretty good. I was at practice several times. I said, hey, this team might not be bad. Like, they could shoot, man. If you get them open shots, they will drain them all day. They've got guys on that team that could shoot the damn basketball, but that's not what they're doing. Like, I don't know what they're doing. All I see is Nigel Pack doing a lot of dribbling and trying to be a point guard and penetrate, and that is not his game. He's a spot-up shooter.
Right.
No, for sure. That's all for me, Gary. Thank you so much to both of you.
All right, man.
Somebody wants to know if we can get Sapp. Listen, there was a rumor that Ray Lewis was going to coach FAU and that Sapp was going to go there as a defensive coordinator. And I haven't heard anything in the last 2 weeks about it, but that was a rumor. But no, he's not coming here.
No chance.
Never. He's not coming here.
No chance. All right, guys. Nice little 3-hour show here tonight. I thank saw a lot of guys watching tonight and girls. Thank you so much. Hope you got your entertainment value out of the show. We got National Signing Day tomorrow. I know it's a little quiet, but it'll be okay because this is part 1, and they know what they got to do in the portal, and they will go and attack that thing like there's no tomorrow. And if they hit, then they'll have a chance to have a decent team next year. If they don't hit, I'm a little concerned.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna jump off any cliffs here in December before the next September.
When is the portal open?
Portal opens December 9th.
Okay.
But we are already starting to see a lot of kids announcing that they're going to the portal.
Right.
So the backroom dealing is beginning in earnest.
Right. Good.
So I think Miami will be very well positioned to do well in the portal. I think that they will recruit it extremely hard. I think they need 10 starters, and
That's a lot.
We will be. It's a lot, but they got to do it. And we will be monitoring and covering it every step of the way at CaneSport.com. If you're not a subscriber to our website, please come on over. We've got deals now to get you in the door, and come become part of our community. We got great fans that interact on the message boards every single day, and our staff does everything that we can do really every day of the year to make you guys the most knowledgeable fans and have the best fan experience that you could possibly have. So get on over to CaneSport.com and become a subscriber if you are not. Tomorrow night, program note, we will have a Lamar Thomas show. So we'll be doing this again tomorrow night in a little bit of a different way. Lamar's a little down and out. I'll give you some advance warning. That upset him the other day.
Yeah,
but we'll be here tomorrow night, 8:00 for the Lamar Thomas show. So for Matt,
but tomorrow is the recruiting thing. Don't you miss the days we used to sit in the office with Jimmy and Dennis and wait for the faxes to come in? Those were the days.
They were.
Now we can't do that anymore.
No, we don't do that anymore. We go out to the high schools and stuff. So we'll be all over the place tomorrow morning. We'll have tons of coverage on CaneSport.com of signing day. So for Matt, Bruce, I'm Gary. Thank you so much again for being part of the show, and we will see you next time, everybody.